And what is up, everyone? It's the top of the hour here on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And you know what that means? It's time to kick the fires. Wow, I messed up my thing. It's time to kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy. It's time for the Digital Dash. I'm your host, Javier Reyes, and for the next 3 hours, I'm going to be talking to you about all the stories, impressions, unabashed opinions, and little idiosyncrasies out there in the world of pop culture goodness, and sometimes featuring only, and I mean only, the most illustrious of guests. It's going to be a good show, guys. Today, I'm going to be recapping the Golden Globes that went on last night and all the, kind of crazy stuff that transpired there. Then after that, going to have my friend Jack Harmonay call in to talk about our favorite games of 2018. It's his first time on the show and first time talking to him in a while. We talk over text and stuff like that, and because it's just basically our love of video games is why we talk a lot. So that'll be a lot of fun. Can't wait for that. Then after that, going to just talk about the NFL playoffs a little bit, wild card weekend, what transpired this past weekend with my beloved Chargers. Long live the King, Phillip, of course. And then after that, going to preview, just talk about the games upcoming this weekend for a little bit. And then lastly, just going to close out the show with a little retrospective on 2018 as a whole and how I felt about it. Things that happened in my life and just the things in pop culture and maybe even just this current events and culture in general and what was, I think, the most memorable things that happened this year, and just what I think this year will be remembered for the most. But before all that, of course, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be going through all the news roundup in the form of the opening dash. So stay tuned, guys. You're listening to the Digital Dash here on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. And what's up, everybody? We're back here on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. We're back here on the Digital Dash. Sorry about the little bit of extended break there, but we're going to keep it rolling with the opening dash, go through some of the movies and gaming news from the past few weeks because I haven't done my show in a while. And I also haven't done my show in a while by myself, at least segments of it by myself. This is going to be a little bit of a refresher. I gotta, get the rusty oil, whatever the term is that I was trying to use there. But we're going to start here in movie news. Something that happened on Christmas Day is that the trailer for Us, the new movie by Jordan Peele, the director of Get Out, among many other things, of course, that's his most famous production, was released. The movie has a March 15th release date starring Lupita Nyong'o and Winston Duke. Lupita Nyong'o, of course, big Oscar award-winning actress from 12 Years a Slave, most notably, and also Black Panther, and Winston Duke, who people probably most notably as M'Baku from Black Panther, kind of burst out onto the scene. So it's those two being the stars, set to release March 15th. Looks like a cool trailer and looks like a cool movie, and of course it's wicked, just like we would expect from Jordan Peele. And I'm really excited for it, and I imagine a lot of people are too. And again, another Blumhouse production, so this is definitely up there on my most anticipated. If I had to make a list for that for next year, I can't wait to see what they do there. Next up, in a big twist of things, come on, guys, you know what I gotta do. I gotta go through the anime stuff, you know what I mean? My Hero Academia Season 4, release date has been announced, reading from IGN.com. Season 4 of the My Hero Academia anime series will premiere in October of 2019. The announcement was made on the official My Hero Academia website. The first official piece of promotional art for the 4th season, bearing the tagline, "I'll become your hero," was revealed as well. Check it out if you would like. It was confirmed earlier this year at the end of Season 3, but this is the first official thing saying it's coming. This also news comes after reportedly a live-action movie is being produced too from Lionsgate, I believe it was. That's also expected to be in the works soon. Obviously, I'm really excited. I'm upset a little bit that it's coming out in October. I didn't realize it was going to take that long. I thought it would be more of a summer release, so that was a little disappointing, but still, nevertheless, it's still cool to get a firm release date for when the show's coming back. Another trailer that was released, MIB International. This one's being directed by F. Gary Gray, who, for those who don't know, is behind movies like Friday, Set It Off, The Negotiator, Straight Outta Compton from a few years ago, which I personally think he might have been robbed of a Best Picture nominee, or Best Director nominee, that he did not get from the Oscars, unfortunately, and we'll be talking about the Oscars in a little bit too, for sure. But yeah, that was unfortunate. But he's going to be directing this. It's starring Chris Hemsworth, Tessa Thompson, Liam Neeson, Rebecca Ferguson, and Emma Thompson, among others. Trailer looks interesting. I like that we're seeing Chris Hemsworth in his comedic element, or not that it's his main thing, but I think that it's been a while since we've seen him focus on that exclusively. And I'm excited because I think that he's really got comedic chops, and Tessa Thompson's awesome. I was surprised by how kind of intrigued I was by the trailer. I don't know if this movie's going to be very good because they haven't really made a great Men in Black movie since the first one essentially, and the second one was just a garbage truck on fire, and the third one kind of redeemed it. But that's a whole nother conversation entirely. So I'm looking forward to that one. It's being released June 14th, 2019, like I said. Next up, Tom Hanks's Mr. Rogers movie got a title officially. It's going to be called A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Reading from The Hollywood Reporter. Mariel Heller is directing the Sony Pictures film, which will be released in October. The project, which was known as the Untitled thing, is now, while it was filming, will be called A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood when it is released on October 18th, 2018. Mariel Heller, whose latest film, Can You Ever Forgive Me, starring Melissa McCarthy, is currently in theaters, is directing the Rogers film written by Micah Fitzgerman-Blue and Noah Harpster. So, yeah, this is interesting. I like the title. I'm excited for the movie. I still haven't seen Won't You Be My Neighbor, which is the documentary that came out earlier this year, unfortunately. But Tom Hanks seems like the obvious choice to go here to play Mr. Rogers, and I understand it. You know, it makes sense. So yeah, that's it for that. Next up, Bird Box. I'm just going to get this over with. I have not seen Bird Box. I do not care about Bird Box, but I do care about it in the sense that it got a lot of viewership. Reading now from The Verge. Netflix announced on December 28th that more than 45 million accounts watched its Netflix original horror movie Bird Box in 7 days, making it a record-breaking debut for the streaming service. But considering Netflix rarely specifies what its data means, it was difficult to gauge what that number meant. So the article goes on to explain, you can read from The Verge if you'd like, just exactly what it means by that. And Netflix really doesn't release its numbers all that much, so it's really hard to tell outside of essentially Twitter hashtags sometimes, like how many people are watching something on Netflix. So that it's just weird to see that, but it made rounds. And I don't really know why this has become like a meme, like Palooza kind of thing. Like I didn't realize this thing was going to be a big deal. It's kind of like the ante to A Quiet Place, where instead of you not being able to speak, this one you can't see or whatever. So it's like kind of using that gimmicky thing. I'm not saying that one copied or whatever. But it's definitely kind of feels like it's got that vibe to it. I haven't seen it. And that's what's weird, is that apparently it's fine. It's mediocre at best, which is why it's so confusing that this thing is like trending all over Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, and all that stuff. So I'm really curious to see why, and I'd like to talk to someone who's actually seen it, and what they thought of it. You know what I mean? I don't get it, man. I just don't get it, guys. I don't get anything, to be honest, to be fair. But moving on, another Netflix story. This one was kind of cool. Stranger Things is returning July 4th. They revealed this, I believe, on New Year's. Stranger Things Season 3. So really excited for that one, of course, being done by the Duffer Bros, all the same cast. I like Stranger Things a lot. I like the first season a lot. I thought the second season got a little bit too much flack in certain areas. I thought it was quite good, and I think that this is one of those shows that I'd like to say can't fail, really. I just think that people like these characters too much. And no matter how the storytelling goes, as long as it's just adequate, I think people are going to be really excited, because I think that they just have a really eclectic cast full of a bunch of people that do different things, you know what I mean, from whether it be the kids or Harper, meaning the police officer played by David Harbour is what I meant to say. Like it's one of those shows I don't think can fail. I think the cast is really great. So we'll see what happens, but July 4th, quite the release date. So that's definitely, I know what I'll be doing on that day, for sure, whenever I get the chance. I'm really looking forward to it. And then nextly, we have, let's see what we have here. Not much left for movie news. Happy Death Day to You. The trailer was released a few weeks ago. As I said, guys, these are some stories that are a little bit old, and there was too many for me to put in the dash today, the opening, because it would take me too long, you know what I mean? Because it's been 3 weeks since I've done it. So I just went along with some of my favorite things. And Happy Death Day to You, which is the sequel to, of course, the 2016 movie, or 2017 movie. Or was it 2017? I forgot, actually. I believe it was last year. Early last year. Yeah, it was back in October. And this is the sequel, and I'm kind of in on it just because I really do believe that the main actress that's in the movie, that was in the original movie, I mean. I'm forgetting her. I'm blanking on her name right now. But I thought she was, way too good for that movie. I thought she was Jessica Roth is her name, I'm sorry. She, had such a great performance in that movie that I didn't expect for a cheesy kind of C+B type of movie, a horror movie releasing in October. And I'm also a sucker for the time loop type of movies. And this one, it looks like it's not just her that's about to be killed. It's a bunch of other people. And it's releasing on Valentine's Day. So this is one of those movies I could see being an absolute like trash heap when it comes out and just getting excoriated. But I'm really excited for it because I really liked that first movie. I thought it was really charming, and it was better than I thought it should have been, if that makes sense. So you can check out the trailer if you want. It's being released, of course, on Valentine's Day, February 14th. Moving on to the last story, though. This one, I couldn't find an article that really captured the whole thing perfectly, but the upcoming Pokemon movie, there was a little bit of a teaser that was CG trailer that was released on Twitter from the Pokemon account. The rumors are that it's going to be a remake of Mewtwo Strikes Back. And the reason why I'm excited for that is because Mewtwo Strikes Back is the original Pokemon movie that was awesome, and I actually think it is really, really good. I'm not just saying, like, it's good for a Pokemon movie or anything like that. I think that movie's awesome, so I thought it was cool that they announced that there's this kind of CG remake coming out. I don't know if it'll be as good. I think it's a little weird that they're doing a remake of it, but it's definitely intriguing, so I put it here. I'm excited to see what happens, you know, if it's confirmed that it's going to be a remake of it, so I'm excited for that one. But that's it for the movie news. Let's move on quickly to the gaming news. Former Hearthstone designers are making a Marvel game. Reading now from Kotaku. A bunch of former Hearthstone director Ben Brody and a group of his colleagues left Blizzard last year, and although they yet haven't announced what they're making next today, they dropped some big news. It's a Marvel game. Second Dinner, a new indie studio founded by Brody, former Hearthstone executive producer Hamilton Shu, and several other ex-Blizzard employees, announced today that it's gotten a $30 million investment from the Chinese company NetEase, and that its first game will be set in the Marvel Universe. The company is hiring new staff in Irvine, California. So this is kind of cool. Hearthstone, of course, if people haven't played it, it's a really addicting, it's easy to learn, hard to master type of card game that I hopped off a while ago, but I really enjoyed it when I did play it when it came out back in like 2014, I believe. It's been a while. It's still going strong, but former devs behind that, I just like the idea that they're behind a Marvel game. And I've talked about in the show a lot that Marvel video games and all those properties that the Marvel Games branch, which was founded not too long ago, that was founded to make sure that they actually give care to these properties because they realize you can make a lot of money from these properties and make licensed games, but they also can be good. They want their own Arkham, you know what I mean? The Arkham series from Rocksteady, or the Batman series, which was great, and it was like surprisingly great. So Marvel looked at that and basically was like, oh, we kind of want that, so let's give our properties to really talented people and have them do a variety of things with them. And you saw what they did with Spider-Man, obviously on PlayStation 4, which we'll definitely be talking to later on with Jack. And that's what I like. So I'm really curious to see what these guys do. I'm assuming it'd be something similar to Hearthstone, some type of card game or some deep type of system like that, but we'll just have to wait and see. Next up on the list, just a small little announcement is that Hitman HD Collection was announced. This reading from IGN. The Hitman HD Enhanced Collection includes upgraded versions of Hitman Blood Money and Hitman Absolution and is coming out on January 11th of this year. So yeah, just 4 days, guys, if you want to get your Hitman on. That franchise is interesting because it really made like a comeback, and people like how methodical and meticulous you have to be with it, where you're a hitman. Like it's a third-person shooter, but it's more about, you know, being more tactical with everything. And you can be loud and noisy and stuff, but I just like that type of gameplay still works. You know what I mean? I'm glad that franchise is doing so well. But yeah, HD Collection's coming out January 11th. If you guys want to check that out, of course. This one kind of a small report. There's a bunch of details being kind of out there right now, but reading from GameSpot, just Halo Infinite is going to feature 4-player split screen and reach-inspired customization system. During a live stream, 343 Studios announced more details for Halo Infinite, the upcoming sixth mainline entry in Microsoft's first-party series. Based on what was announced, it seems like Halo Infinite is still a long way off. 343 Studios is working on a new engine for Halo Infinite, which could push the game's release date to after 2019. We can expect 4-player split screen in Halo Infinite as 343 is testing the feature in the new engine right now. And during the stream, they also announced the armor customization, and Infinite will be inspired by the system seen in Reach, which was released back in like 2013, I'm going to say, give or take maybe a few years. And also, players who reach level 152 in Halo 5 Guardians will receive a special reward in Infinite. Studio did not announce what the reward might be. So I put this because, one, just the thing with Halo that's funny about that franchise is it used to be like kind of an A-list system seller, and I still think it sells, but it's kind of waned, and I think that's what's interesting about Microsoft. And I'd love to talk about Jack about this later, is that they need properties, and they haven't really had a new IP to really break out in a while. And and Halo 5 Guardians somehow, for some reason, and I'm not a big Halo franchise, connoisseur, but with the last game, they dropped the split screen feature, and people told me that split screen is like a huge thing. That's part of the Halo franchise, so that was really surprising to see that they would drop something like that. But they did, and it's cool that it's back, so all the Halo fans out there should get excited. And also just that it sounds like it's still early in development, which means to me it's probably the game for the next Xbox, the next generation console. I would be shocked if they kind of release this thing right now, especially considering it looks like we're going to get teases for the next Xbox and next PlayStation over the coming year or so. So yeah, so some good and bad news for all the Halo fans out there. Moving on, second to last story, Spider-Man Raimi suit, meaning like the for Spider-Man PlayStation 4, they released a free update a couple weeks ago, which made me very happy, and it gave you the ability to unlock the Spider-Man Raimi suit, meaning the suit that he has in the Raimi movies, with Tobey Maguire. It looks really cool in action. I can't wait to play it when I get home. I've been meaning to do it for a while, but I had to beat another game in order to clear space for the update for Spider-Man, so I haven't had a real great chance to play it myself, but I'm really looking forward to it and playing all the DLC too. And I just want to mention, like, there was really a lot of controversy over this when it was happening because a bunch of fans were going rabid and basically complaining that why don't they have the Raimi suit in, put it in. And they were really kind of attacking the developers and acting like, this is an easy fix. And, there's a lot of people, when the suit got released, they were like, oh, looks like the Trolls won. You know what I mean? It's like, no, they didn't. It's like, that's not how game development works. There's obviously a lot of licensing things that probably went into effect trying to get this thing. And they've been trying for a while, so I wouldn't start. It was just, I recommend everybody check out, like, the full story on this, because it was really ridiculous. And I love video games, but the industry and its fan base a lot of times can be really full of itself and just way too, just toxic. You know what I mean? I know that's a word that we use a lot for fan bases we don't like, but it's true in this case for sure. And I was really disappointed to see that. But nevertheless, I'm still excited about it. It's a really cool gesture by Insomniac to have a free update for this suit that means a lot to people who grew up with those movies, like myself. And then lastly, which is perhaps the most interesting thing that happened, reading for Kotaku, PlayStation Classic, the portable console, it got a huge price cut. Reading for Kotaku, like I said, 1 month after the NES Classic launched, it was impossible to find. 1 month after the SNES Classic launched, it was the hottest console on the market. And 1 month after the PlayStation Classic launched, it's been marked down from $100 to $60 at every store on the internet. This 40% price drop, which went widespread across stores like Amazon and Target, signals that Sony made more PlayStation Classics than it sold. There are a lot of explanations for this, obviously, but it just shows you that I think Sony messed this up. I was excited when they announced this, but I think the final slate of games wasn't really strong enough to merit a $100 thing. Even like the article said, the NES Classic and the SNES Classic, those were annoying because they intentionally kind of shortchanged the supply for them to create demand. That's what Nintendo does. But this one, I feel like there wasn't really a demand for it based on what games they released. I think they were missing a lot. And a lot of the games on the PlayStation Classic, you can already kind of play. Final Fantasy VII, you can download like the PlayStation 1 version of the game. I believe you can. So it's like there was a lot of these games on there that you could already play from a place. So, and I think they were missing some. Like, I wanted to see the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series. I thought that would have been awesome. And, the Crash, like Crash Bandicoot, like, we just got that. We just got a collection of that. And we also, like, an HD remaster, of course, with the Insane trilogy. And then we got the Spyro Reignited trilogy, which just came out, like, a couple months ago. So it just shows you, like, I just feel like this was they had a good idea, but they didn't actually put effort into it. And as you can see, it really hasn't paid off well for them. So, whatever. It's unfortunate to see, but, what are you going to do, classic Sony? But that's enough for the gaming news now, just to go quickly through my reads of the week. Up first, celebrate my guy. Of course. I had to do it, guys. I had to do it. Philip Rivers has his last best chance to win a ring. This is by Robert Mays, and you can find it on The Ringer. Just kind of a profile piece, kind of just talking to him about, just Philip Rivers stuff. And I love Philip Rivers. He's the king. Long live the king, Philip. And I was ecstatic about the game yesterday, obviously, which I'll get to later on in the show, of course. But, yeah, so that's one of my reads of the week. And next up, this was kind of just a quirky, funny little thing. It's What Your Smash Bros. Ultimate Main Says About You, the Existential Crisis Edition. This is on VG 24/7 by Mike Drucker. It was just really funny, and I enjoyed it. It's a quirky little dumb little piece, but hey, I like mixing it up every once in a while on the show with what I recommend. And then next up, everything Amazon did in 2018 that you might have missed. This one from Vox. written by Caitlin Tiffany. Basically, it's exactly what it says, and I think that people might not realize how much of a reach. People realize how big Amazon is, but I think they forget sometimes just how big and how many other things they're doing exactly. And I think the piece did a good job of just explaining that, which is at times scary, just to see how much control Amazon seems to be, kind of garnering in a variety of fields, whether it be retail stores or actual real estate and stuff. It's a little concerning, but so I recommend people checking that one out. And since it's been a while since the show, I threw one more in there, and that's, again from The Ringer, ranking the good, bad, and truly absurd Monday Night Football graphics. This is written by Danny Heifetz. It's a fun little piece, and I've been thinking about this too all year, where the Monday Night Football graphics were hilarious, like the ones with the Raiders jumping off the pirate ship to signify that they lost a lot of players. The one with the Seattle Seahawks getting snapped with the Thanos finger snap, which is spoiler, and then like all of them disappearing. Like the graphics were really funny all year, and this piece did a really fun job at just chronicling them, and I really enjoyed it. It was a really creative idea, and I appreciate it a lot. But yeah, that's it, guys, for the reads of the week. Now we're going to take a little bit of a break, and when we get back, going to talk about the Golden Globes and what a show they were. They were something, guys, and I have a lot of thoughts on them. And then after that, of course, Jack's going to call in. So stay tuned, guys. Listen to 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. And what is up, guys? We're back here on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair, listening to the Digital Dash with your host, Javier Reyes. I'm by myself. I'm a lone wolf right now. It's going all right, though. It's going all right. It's going pretty okay, guys. But you know what's not going pretty okay? It's the Golden Globes. It's just movies, just in general. So yeah, for those who didn't watch the Golden Globes last night, which I commend you for not watching them probably, because they were just as usual, as loony and as backwards as I think you could be. And I just had some thoughts. There's just a lot of things that happened at the Globes last night that were really even for Globe standards, they were just kind of insane. So basically, I think I don't know really where to start, actually. Let's start with some of the good things that I thought happened. One was Spider-Verse winning for Best Animated Feature. That was really cool, and it's awesome to see that we might be getting an Oscar for a Spider-Man movie, which is really dope. And obviously, it's one of my favorite movies of the year, and just seeing that is really awesome for me, you know what I mean? And I was excited about that. And Christian Bale, I think, was another cool thing. It was really interesting that he thanked Satan for inspiration for his role as Dick Cheney. So, of course, you can take with that what you want. And I thought that, I haven't seen Vice yet, but it seems from everything that I gather that he did a really good job. And, Christian Bale is one of the best actors we have, probably. And I know a lot of people were also caught off by his accent last night, which was interesting. I for some reason wasn't. Like, I knew he kind of had like a kind of a hard accent when it came to his English, voice and whatnot. Sorry, I'm really distracted right now. So that was cool to see. And, it was fun seeing Jeff Bridges up there. A friend of mine that I was watching, which was like, I'm sorry, but what is Jeff Bridges talking about? I swear we all just stopped paying attention for 30 seconds, and all of a sudden he was talking about something about collars and all these things. It kind of was just Jeff Bridges going through his IMDb page. That's what it felt like. Not him, but the Oscars, not the Oscars, the Golden Globes themselves, just kind of doing this whole thing, and it was really strange, and I don't know, it was a funny moment for me. And I thought the hosts, Andy Samberg and Sandra Oh, actually, no, I don't think they were great, really. I thought they were meh. I thought they were fine. I thought that they had their moments. I thought that they were trying to play it safe for the most part. This wasn't a Ricky Gervais type of show, you know what I mean, who infamously years ago just scorched everybody at the Oscars, which is what they made reference to in their opening monologue last night. And this definitely wasn't that. It was the opposite. It was very playful. Sandberg made a joke about the Black Panther Party, which I don't know if people liked or not. I thought it was funny. But it was interesting, and it was interesting how they delivered that. But I thought it was fine. And I know people will complain or not complain a lot when it comes to jokes about certain things, but I thought that was fine. But I saw a lot of people talking about it. There was this weird flu shot segment that happened, and it was just so weird, where basically they played on the fact that at these shows, a lot of times they've been lately having these things where they give the audience gifts or whatever, they parachute them down. And in this case, they made fun of the fact that the Golden Globes, you don't really need drinks or food, unlike the Oscars. And so this time they did flu shots, obviously not real flu shots, and then they just started playing shots by LMFAO, which was really strange, but I was kind of here for it. But it also felt like something that wasn't kind of appropriate for the room. It felt like nobody was really down for that. It was just weird. But then again, I like weird stuff. That's not really the problem with the Globes last night. And also, I enjoyed Amy Poehler and Maya Rudolph when they came in for just a brief segment. I thought it was really funny, the two of them. It's just to be expected. Both of them are hilarious. But, of course, I do caution people. I feel like there's going to be a lot. This happens every year where presenters come on stage and are really funny and awesome. And everyone, whether it be Twitter or it be the forums or whatever place on the internet you go to, everybody's always like, wow, that person should be hosting. Or those people should be hosting. We need them. Just give us them. Keep in mind, it's a lot different when they have to stretch out their routine for an entire show versus like the 5 minutes that they have to do as presenters. Not saying that I don't think Amy Poehler and Maya Rudolph would do a bang-up job. I'm sure they would. They are really funny. And I enjoyed them appearing for a quick second. But, I just think we should watch that just a little bit. But yeah, that was kind of my main okay things. You know what I mean? The things that I thought were cool, were kind of cool to see. You know what I mean? For the most part. And then there was a lot of other stuff. So first of all, just to go through some of the winners. Let me go through them broadly and then really hone in on the ones that I want to talk about the most. So the Golden Globe winners. All right. So Best Picture Drama went to Bohemian Rhapsody. Best Picture Comedy or Musical went to Green Book. Best Performance by an Actor in a Motion Picture Drama went to Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody. Best Performance by an Actress in a Motion Picture Drama went to Glenn Close from The Wife. Best Performance by an Actor in a Motion Picture Musical or Comedy, as I mentioned with Christian Bale before, he won for Vice. Best Performance by an Actress in a Motion Picture Musical or Comedy went to Olivia Colman from The Favorite, which I still haven't seen yet and I really want to. And Best Performance by an Actor in a Supporting Role, Mahershala Ali for Green Book, and an Actress in a Supporting Role went to Regina King for If Beale Street Could Talk. Best Director went to Alfonso Cuarón for Roma. Like I said, Spyro for Best Animated Picture. And then Best Screenplay went to Peter Farrelly, Nick Vallona, and Brian Curry for Green Book, which we'll get into momentarily. And Best Original Song went to Shallow from A Star Is Born. And I don't really want to get too much into the television series because I don't know enough about television, to be perfectly honest, and also I just don't want to talk about it. So, first up, let's talk about Bohemian Rhapsody and Green Book, because that's really what this is about. And Bohemian Rhapsody, I have not seen, and I have not seen Green Book, so let me disclose that before I get into this. Both of these movies winning, there was separate issues for why both of these movies won, by my approximation. For Green Book, it isn't because the movie was necessarily bad. I actually heard it's pretty good. The problem is that there's been backlash, and deserved backlash, because, and this is why it's even crazier that it won for Best Screenplay, is that the movie was written by the side of only one person, which was Viggo Mortensen's character, which was the white guy, and then it didn't really take Mahershala Ali's character's side of the story, and they really never asked his family about what happened. So there's been all this backlash from the family and them saying that the movie is highly inaccurate, and a lot of others have kind of one-upped that as well. So it was really interesting to see that. It's not even interesting to see it. It's just, this is kind of what happens at the Globes. The Hollywood Foreign Press are hacks. They're the types of people that tweet at airlines when they're bored, and you know what I mean? That's what they do. I'm not kidding about the airlines thing. If you find out if you find some of the Twitter accounts for people on the Hollywood Foreign Press, they really do actually tweet at airlines just asking for free stuff. And they're just these people who seem to be wanted to be appeased all the time, and they like to feel good about themselves, I think. So they like it when the movies and all the people part of them smooch and really make them feel better. And it's this whole political game that's just even worse than the Oscars a lot of times. And Green Book, I was talking to my friend Rob O'Connor about this a few weeks ago, actually, where I was like, I can't wait for Green Book to win over Black Panther or Black Klansman. The reason I said that was because the Golden Globes oftentimes, they like to think that they're progressive, or they like to think that they're hip and that they get it, in quotes, that they get it. They get the racial injustice or the racism or whatever, or the cultural, the social issues that, go on in this country or other countries, and they like to pretend that they get it. They do this a lot. You know what I mean? The Oscars does this sometimes too, for sure, but the Golden Globes seems to relish in this. And they think that Green Book is like this super progressive probably movie, and really just based on what everything I've heard and what people are saying is that it's really highly inaccurate. Now that doesn't mean the movie isn't good. Let me stress that. It doesn't mean the movie isn't good. It just means, especially when you win for screenplay, that's a little bit complicated and it looks kind of bad in my book. And I was really just kind of troubled by that. And I'm, the Golden Globes, which we'll get into in a little bit, they don't really have the best rate of getting best pictures and stuff like that for the Oscars correctly. They're not an accurate predictor of it. It's something like 48%. You know what I mean? Like that's how on target they are usually with like best picture and best screenplay in the movie centric awards. And I just looked at that and I was like, this is like classic Globes, them not getting it. And them not like Black Klansman would have been something that would have been like, oh, we get it if they gave that a win. But they didn't. They gave it to Green or Black Panther or Beale Street Could Talk. That would have been cool too, which another one I haven't seen. But that's what's interesting here is that they didn't do that. I know I keep saying that, but that's really what happened. And I think it's a big problem that, the Golden Globes put themselves in. And I know a lot of people are worried now probably where they're like, is Green Book going to be now in Oscar contention? Now, like I said, the Golden Globes are not really an accurate predictor of Best Picture and stuff like that. They haven't really gotten it. And for those who remember last year, they gave it to, and also another reason why they're off base is because it is a structurally different show. The Oscars have one Best Picture. This one has two based on musical or comedy and drama. So it's completely different type of realms that we're dealing with here and parameters. But still, it's like last year, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri won, and also Lady Bird won, and what ended up winning the Oscar was Shape of Water, just to give a little bit of example. So that's the problem with that. So I was really shocked to see that. But also not shocked, because that's the thing with the Globes is that they do shocking things so much that it isn't shocking anymore. You know what I mean? Almost like when, say, not to get too political, but like when the president tweets something shocking, it's not really shocking anymore because we get it. Like he does this. This is what his character is. This is what he does. You know what I mean? This is what kind of person he is. He says what he thinks on Twitter a lot. Then for Bohemian Rhapsody, which is a movie that I've been rooting for and I haven't seen yet because I love Queen. And I'm not like one of those people who like just started liking Queen again because of the movie. Like I really listen to Queen like just all the time, like constantly. And I really thought that it was strange to see this win. And here's why. There's a lot of reasons, but one of the main reasons that Bohemian Rhapsody, from what I've heard, is just not good. Like not a good movie. And I've heard that it's fun. And that it's basically, if you like Queen, then you're going to like the movie just because you're going to be listening to Queen songs. So everyone's going to be kind of satisfied. Meaning, like, a lot of people who went to this movie, they were like, they got their money's worth because they were like, hey, I'm just going to listen to Queen. You know what I mean? There's really no arguing with that logic, you know what I mean, at its base value, which is interesting. But then as a movie, apparently it is not good. Now, like I said, I have not seen it yet. But just to give like a perspective, Eric Anderson, at awards_watch on Twitter gave a really like poignant kind of like stat for this. These are the Metacritic scores for Golden Globe drama winners this decade. The Social Network with a 95, The Descendants with an 84, Argo with an 86, 12 Years a Slave with a 96, Boyhood with a 100, The Revenant with 76, Moonlight with 99, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri with 88, and Bohemian Rhapsody, which won last night, had a Metacritic score of 49. Okay, now I am someone who besmirches and can't stand critics a lot of times, and I think that Metacritic a lot of times it kind of bullies movies that people watch because Metacritic does it based on what the actual score that reviewers would give it, not just whether or not they liked it, which is what Rotten Tomatoes does. So a lot of times, just by default, a superhero movie or whatever will always be at 70. That's just how it works. Even if they love the movie, they will. I know how the critics kind of work with these things. But that's low, and that's kind of weird. That's like Grammys territory, where like Bruno Mars won for Best Album last year, and everybody had like a score 20 points higher. So it's like, who are we exactly like giving this to? Is this critics deciding this? It's weird, and this is supposed to be done by the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, which is supposed to be like culture people and pop culture people. You know what I mean? Like people who are not in the business directly as much, but people who care about it and are in that kind of industry, I should say. But yet this movie won, and it had a 40. Like that just kind of captures that apparently this movie was not very good. And I've always hated the idea that movies that are fun and just kind of, oh, let's go have a good time, that those can't be good, in quotes, movies. I think that's an incredibly condescending way of looking at film, and I think that's stupid, to be quite blunt. And I love when chaos happens with these shows, when these pretentious kind of award shows and all the stuck-up people that vote for them and are a part of them and really think that certain movies are the best of the year. I love it when things don't go their way, and that's something that people actually saw wins. But in this case, I'm like, this is a bit over the line. So that's the problem with both of those winners, where it's like it's not necessarily the inaccuracy of it. It's more that this movie apparently just wasn't good. So it's kind of weird that it won. And also won in Best Drama. Probably would have been more accurate just based on what I understand for Best Musical. Because essentially that's what it was. I still have to see it. I'll probably talk about that next week because now I'm even more intrigued to see it. I just didn't get a chance this year to see it. I missed out on a lot of movies because I was super busy. Not to, make everyone feel bad or anything like that. I'm not trying to play the sad story. But that was those were the two like main reactions that I had to the Golden Globes. And it was really just awkward. And like I said, these aren't the best predictors for the Oscars, you know what I mean? But they are good for the acting awards, which I mentioned with Christian Bale. So I would say that he's probably the front runner now for Best Actor. I think it used to be Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born. A Star Is Born also I forgot to mention this, only one award for A Star Is Born. And I wonder if that's because perhaps there's not a lot of momentum going for it. Could that be it? Could it be that they just don't like it? Because it's weird, because it's kind of an old-fashioned biopic that, not real biopic, but, made up kind of characters, but it's just this movie that kind of romanticizes Hollywood and becoming a star and the whole grind to the top and all that stuff. And typically these award shows like those type of things, especially the Oscars. They love it. Just look at La La Land for just one example. But I'm wondering if maybe this movie isn't being pushed enough, if they're not campaigning for it, that the press team and the people behind it aren't pushing it enough, and that Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga haven't been pushing it enough. I'm not really sure. And I'm wondering if maybe that means that Bradley Cooper isn't going to win the Oscar. There's like a 90% accuracy predictor when it comes to the Golden Globes judging the acting awards. You know what I mean? They usually get it right. And last year with Best Actor, or Best Supporting Actor, Best Actor, one of the ones that they didn't get right last year was James Franco. But James Franco he won the Golden Globe, but then wasn't nominated because most likely there were a lot of allegations that came out against him. So that's different than them just missing the mark because, allegations came out and they chose to leave him off of the nomination table. I personally thought he was basically just doing an SNL sketch, so I don't think he was amazing in The Disaster Artist, but still, that was what happened there. So the Golden Globes are usually kind of on track with that. And in my opinion, it's kind of unfortunate because I think Bradley Cooper, Christian Bale's great. I'm not trying to denounce him in any respect. You know what I mean? He's great. But it is a little puzzling to see, not puzzling, but it is slightly unfortunate just based on, I really enjoyed A Star Is Born. And I thought that Bradley Cooper just did a lot. You know what I mean? Like, this is a guy who was the director. It's his directorial debut. He did a movie that's been done many times before, but still made it refreshing and good for this generation. And he also acted in it. And in doing the acting, he actually had the accent, and he also played a guitar and, sang really well. I just thought there was a lot of things he was doing in the movie. You know what I mean? I made this complaint last year with Allison Janney winning over someone like Laurie Metcalf from Lady Bird. And Allison Janney won in I, Tonya, and I thought that Allison Janney wasn't her best performance, and also she's kind of doing one thing, and that one thing she does is really good. You know what I mean? This stern kind of tough, rigid character that she does. But then I thought Laurie Metcalf in Lady Bird had just such a mixture of emotions where she had to be funny, but she also had to be vulnerable, super vulnerable at times, but also really hard, stone, rigid, and effective in a lot of different ways. And that's what I thought it was just a more varied performance, you know what I mean? And I thought that that's kind of the case going here with Bradley Cooper, where I feel like he did a lot more. And that's why I was so sure, or at least I was confident, that he would get a little bit more noticed for Best Actor. You know what I mean? I thought that the Oscars would be like, wow, he did so much. You know what I mean? Let's look at the body of work. Of course, Christian Bale, he'd put on a ton of weight. Not literally, but he had all the makeup and the prosthetics and stuff like that for the movie for playing Dick Cheney in Vice. But still, I felt like there's a little bit more on Bradley Cooper's side in that respect. But still, so that was a little bit shocking. And yeah, like I was saying before with Bohemian Rhapsody winning, also just in terms of optics that don't look good, we've mentioned the optics of Green Book that don't look good. what the Hollywood Foreign Press is doing is it's interesting that we have Sandra Oh and Andy Samberg come out, and Sandra Oh go on this whole thing about, hey, this is change, and looking at everyone in the room, and this is what movies are, and we're moving forward, and all these things, and Hollywood's changing, and we're fixing up. And then you give it to this movie that apparently isn't very good, and it's basically a biopic, and whatever. And then it's directed by Bryan Singer, who is very bad by all accounts, who's been, he got outed with the Me Too movement and with some allegations from like 14-year-olds. Like it's really bad. So I just if anyone wants to, I'm not going to go into too much detail with him specifically with what he did, but it's just interesting that that's like what wins. You know what I mean? It's like almost hypocritical for not Sandra Oh, but just for us to be delivered a message that's like the Academy's changing, but then also give to essentially what is widely regarded as an abuser. You know what I mean? And it just shows you that it's like, all right, things really haven't changed. You guys still kind of cop out or sell out, I should say, when it comes to these things. So whatever. And yeah, that's basically the biggest like reaction I had. I thought the show was I thought. And also, Andy Samberg and Sandra Oh, I swear, just disappeared for like an hour. At one point, like I just didn't see them again. It was just really slow. It wasn't very funny. Not that it was too long. I don't like it necessarily when people complain that the show is too long, because it's basically Hollywood patting itself on the back. Like what made us think that this needs to be short? You know what I mean? Like I don't think that I don't know. I don't know where this idea that it needs to be a short or shorter kind of ceremony came from. Nevertheless, it still did. It's just a little bit strange to me. But yeah. So in general, the Globes, I think, like I mentioned this before, I'm sorry I'm repeating myself, guys. It's been a while since I've done like just by myself talking to a microphone for 3 hours. That there's been a lot of talk about Green Book of the past, 18 hours and Bohemian Rhapsody. What does it mean for the Oscars? We'll find out January 22nd, which is when it's believed that the Oscar nominations will be released, which is just a few days before the SAG Awards. And I think that I don't think we're going to worry too much about Bohemian Rhapsody and Green Book winning. I think that the Golden Globes are weird. For actors, though, I got a feeling with Christian Bale's win and kind of like just very simple. Like it almost looked like the room felt it. Like, yeah, this felt obvious. I don't know. It was just strange to me. It feels like maybe Star is Born is going to be one of those movies that just kind of gets forgotten, which to me is really shocking. Like I said, I'm a big fan of Chaos, but I really like Star is Born. I thought that it was a crowd pleaser and also just a really well-made film that also pleased critics as well. So it'd be kind of unfortunate if that movie just really got kind of swept under the rug. I think that'd be unfortunate. But we'll see what happens, of course, with the Oscars. And, of course, I've already talked to Rob. He'll be back for that. You know what I mean? And he's going to be back. It's going to be fantastic. I can't wait for when he comes back. But, yeah, guys, those are my thoughts on the Golden Globes. Just, what transpired last night and how ludicrous of a show it was for a variety of reasons that I didn't get into some of the other reasons, but those are some of the main ones. We're going to take a little bit of a break now. And when we get back, my friend Jack Harmonay is going to call in. So stay tuned for that, guys. We're going to talk about some video games. And I'm going to be able to not talk into a microphone by myself. That's exciting. I can't wait. So, yeah, guys, stay tuned. You're listening to 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair. Hey, yo. What's up, everybody? You're listening to 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair. You're listening to Digital Dash by your host, me, Javier Reyes. And calling in via Skype from an undisclosed location is my friend Jack Harmonay.
Hey.
What's up, buddy?
Not much, man. What's up with you?
Not much, man. Just hanging out by myself in the studio. I've been talking by myself for an hour.
Okay.
Just kind of, fill the time, fill the void before the real star comes in. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, don't flatter me.
But if you want to introduce yourself or whatever you want to say, I always say that to people making their first appearance on the show.
Yeah, there's not much to say. Just know Javier from high school and talk, every once in a while, and just invited me to be on the show, talk about some games.
Yeah, man, and it's cool because I'm basically the biggest game head out of people I know, at least my friends. My friends play video games, but you're probably even bigger into it than I am. And what I like is that, we talk a lot literally just because of this. And we're like, we talk about like the industry stuff where it's not just like, oh, what game did you find that was fun this year? It's like we get obsessed over like, yo, this one developer, bro.
The news aspect is a big part of it for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I get, I talk about it on the show every now and then for sure. And you're really into it. But you know, we're not strictly talking about news today. I invited you on to basically just talk about, you know, kind of the best games of last year. And I didn't get to play too much, which is why I thought it'd be really important to have you on. So you just want to get into it about what your favorites were, like maybe your top 5 or 10, whatever kind of list you might have prepared.
Yeah, I got a top 5.
All right.
But I'll say first off that this, 2018 was like, all things considered, pretty slow for me too, in terms of games. I had trouble filling out a top 5 when, like, other years I'd like struggle to make a top 10, you know, like, cause I'd play so many other things. So I guess I'll just start off. We get it pulled up here.
Got you.
So here's the top 5. My number 5 would be Dark Souls Remastered.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I know it's kind of like a lame choice. Like, it was either this or the Spyro, and they're both like pretty much remakes. So, I'm a big fan. I'm a big Souls fan. Love From Software. I love all their games. Bloodborne is one of my favorite games of all time. But never played the first Dark Souls, which everyone says is the best.
Bloodborne was surprisingly good. Not surprisingly good. Just, of course, I've told you I haven't played it, but like, I don't think the reception before that game came out was this might just be the best game of the decade. You know what I mean? It wasn't exactly previewed as that.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably like the best game of the PS4, Xbox One generation. But yeah, played Dark Souls 2 and 3, Bloodborne, loved them all, and then never got around to playing the first one until now, and it was great. And I get why people say it's the best, but I still like Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne more, in my opinion. So number 4, which is probably your number 1, is Spider-Man.
Oh, what made you think that? What? Why would you think that?
Dude, I don't know. Just a hunch, gut feeling.
Just a gut feeling, all right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, really enjoyed this one. Big Spider-Man fan. Have seen all the movies in theaters since the first one.
Of course, right.
Never really got into the comics because I'm just not really into that anyway. But like, yeah, I don't know. It gave me what I want as a Spider-Man fan, and Insomniac, you know, they know what they're doing. They always deliver, pretty much. Yeah,
this one was like kind of, I don't want to say, it really wasn't surprising how good it was when you just look at, you know, like you said, that it's Insomniac that's making it. They actually had time to make it, unlike a lot of licensed games, especially when it comes to Spider-Man. Usually it's like Beanox who makes everything. And I like Beanox, actually. I think they made some good games, but it was like year after year, and it was just kind of getting, you know, too saturated. Yeah. And then you give it to Insomniac, which was surprising at first for me, because Insomniac, for those who don't know, they're known for primarily the Ratchet and Clank and I'd say Resistance franchises.
Spyro.
Yeah, Spyro 2. The original. But I thought it was going to go to someone like Sucker Punch, who's known for the Sly Cooper and the Infamous series. So at first I was a little hesitant. I was like, well, that's not what I was expecting. But they gave it to a developer that was clearly just talented and capable. And, you know, when the game came out as good as it did, I think the only thing that was surprising for me was kind of the story. I didn't expect the story to be as engaging as it was, and the slow parts. The slow parts I actually enjoyed, and I thought that they really got the Peter Parker character really well. And I'm someone who does read a good amount of the comics, at least the Spider-Man ones anyway. And I thought they did the character justice. And what I thought was cool was it's basically a remake and it's their own universe, yet they also play true to the characters, meaning like, you know, Peter Parker is still what you think he is, but also it's kind of a little bit of a different take on him. He's slightly older. He's been Spider-Man for like 10 or 7 years, I believe, at the time of this game.
Yeah, he's like out of college, and he's like an adult living by himself and stuff.
And which was cool, because I think a lot of times the, you know, conventional wisdom, and mine too, is that Peter Parker / Spider-Man is usually the coolest when he's in high school. The post-high school, out of college thing can be good, but it's usually he's more known for just being that kid that's a superhero.
And then you have like something like Spider-Verse where he's like 35 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like a midlife crisis man. No problem. Yeah. Trust me. I'll talk about Spider-Verse as much as I can. And that's what I really liked about the game. I knew the gameplay was going to be good. You know, I mean, I knew it was going to be graphically awesome, but I was taken aback by how much I really liked the story and how much that I thought it really immersed me. I thought it might be one of those things where it was forgettable to an extent where I was like, this is fun, like a B movie. But I was like, no, this was actually just really cool. And I like what they did with the characters.
It did a lot of unexpected things with the story.
Mm-hmm.
Are we getting into spoilers at all for any of these games?
If you want to, but I think first we should probably just talk about just the rest of the games that we like this year before we get into that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, one last thing I'll say about Spider-Man before we move on is I was impressed with the combat. The traversal, the web swinging was like, I expected that to be good, and it was. But the combat was like very, I thought it was very refined, had like a lot of depth to it. A big like Devil May Cry, Bayonetta.
Yeah, it's like if you took Arkham but then crossed it with like the personality of like the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series. Like it's just it's meant to be kind of crazy and all over the place.
That's a pretty good way of putting it, especially with the score system.
Yeah, just like it felt very, it's fast. While Arkham was a little bit more meticulous, you know what I mean? And I think that game is stronger with the stealth. Yeah, a little bit more tactical. This one's like, action packed, high octane.
Yeah. Anyway, next is Red Dead Redemption 2.
Okay, this is gonna be interesting. All right, I'm ready. Go for it.
I absolutely love this game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm aware that it has been getting a lot of flack for people saying, "Oh, it's not like the story is great, the world is amazing, but it's not a great game to actually play," which I disagree with completely.
Okay.
I love the shooting. It's extremely satisfying. Right, just like it's one of the few games that they have the option of fast travel in this game. I didn't fast travel one time, and I usually always do that in games like Far Cry or any other open world game. I'm always like fast traveling to the next mission. But in this game, I wanted to take my time, look around, just admire everything because it looks amazing. And on top of all that, like it's usually a trade-off, right? Like on top of all that, like amazing open world and in my opinion fun, like gameplay, a lot of mechanics. You get this incredible, amazing story with like some of the best characters' performances in any game.
Yeah,
ever.
That's fair. I agree with that.
So I can't. I have a hard time finding things I don't like about it.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about this game, and now I'm just going to get kind of really pretentious about it in my analysis, but
all right, go ahead.
What's interesting about Rockstar is they're a provocative developer. Like just what they make, they're intentionally trying to kind of like, push the line and stuff.
Yes,
but usually it's
a lot of the time I feel.
Yeah. But what's interesting is that usually for me, it's usually in terms of what the game is about. So Bully, it's like, it's a Columbine simulator. Obviously it isn't, but like, it's usually like the themes of Rockstar games, obviously Grand Theft Auto, especially like Grand Theft Auto 5 and, you know what I mean? Like just these mature subjects and.
Yeah, like satire of like American society and culture, like type stuff.
But this was the first Rockstar game for me in a while that I played that was trying to be provocative, not in terms of the story. It's a Western, you know what I mean? It's a well-told, serious story. But it was provocative in terms of the gameplay. And I've never played, I've played some games, but I haven't really played, especially on this stage and this, AAA title, one that just it constantly almost seems to be like trying to annoy me. Meaning like it's slow. Like the opening of the game, not annoy me. That's not a right way to say it. It's you know what I mean? It's really hard to explain this game sometimes. You know what I mean? Like it's great and it's a Rockstar game.
A lot of people, I kind of get what you mean. A lot of people say it's like over, like too many mechanics like on top of each other. But like I feel that everything serves a purpose to make you really feel like you're there, which is what they're going for. And Right.
Like it really is.
There's like quick time event-esque parts of the game where you have to mash a button or whatever. It's like I don't know. I think everything was like intentional, and for me it works.
And that's the thing though, is like I think over time I started to be like, wow, I like this. At the beginning, I'm like taking 10 minutes to ride to a mission, and I was like, this feels like old Rockstar, where like there'd be these like little random things that they messed up on when it came to gameplay. But I was like, still feel like but it feels purposeful. The old Rockstar games, it didn't feel purposeful. It just felt like not perfect gameplay design. But this one, it's like
it's just limitations.
Yeah, like the walking. I mean, you can lose your hat. It's just the attention to detail really is just astronomically
incredible,
crazy.
Yeah.
And I respect it for that. I think even if you don't like Red Dead Redemption 2, it's surely one of the most like stylistic, or not even stylistic, but just not even unique. It's memorable. You know what I mean? Whether you haven't really played a game like this game that, and a lot of times is like, yeah, guess what? You have to wait 10 minutes, just like it would be. Like you're gonna have to feel like you're riding. You know what I mean? And that's kind of a cliche to say you feel like Spider-Man or you feel like a cowboy or whatever it is. But it really feels true where it's like, hey, guess what? You have to put your weapons on the horse first before you go to a mission. You know what I mean? You have to make sure they're there. It's not like the Ratchet and Clank thing where you just pull it out of wherever.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Wheel.
Yeah.
Or even like any other, even like the old, even GTA 5, like the weapon wheel.
Yeah, that one's like hilariously stacked. It's just like grenade launch.
Weapon in the game. It's like hundreds of weapons throughout the game.
That I thought was so interesting about the game, and I think it's memorable. I haven't really played into it as much as I want to. It came out during a bad time.
Yeah, I finished it.
Oh, really?
A while ago.
What? See, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I meant. I don't know what I'm talking about, but Jack does. My gosh, it's like, how long was it? Like 60 hours for you?
I don't know. I would say it didn't feel that long.
Mm-hmm.
But I was enjoying my time playing it, so maybe it went faster. I did have multiple very long sessions playing it.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm only like 7, I think, hours in, something like that. I gotta check later.
Oh my god, nowhere.
I just got distracted a lot. Like I would just be running around like, oh, what's this over here? This feels like it leads to something, and it does oftentimes.
Okay, that's like pretty much the one problem I had with the game. I did not feel compelled to explore. I just wanted to do the story and like side missions.
Interesting. That makes sense though. That makes sense. I get that. I was just compelled because I just wanted to see. Like, I don't know how to explain that. Like, I was compelled not by the game, but just by my own desire to
get what you mean.
See what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, just the detail, like, what is it like out here? I'm just curious. But yeah, I get what you mean. So yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2 at number 3. That game, I mean, we could talk about that for like an hour.
Yeah,
like,
it's just, a lot of things, especially
there's a lot of
story,
things.
But,
especially the story.
Obviously we can't because you haven't beat it.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Thank you. So what do you got next? Right. What do you got next on the plate?
All right, number 2. This is the big one that's getting all the awards and all that. It's God of War.
Okay.
I loved it. I've seen people like knock it for the gameplay and stuff, which I think is great. I think the combat and everything is great.
Oh yeah, I loved it. I still haven't finished it either, but I'm loving it, man. You feel like Thor.
It did a great job switching up the God of War formula without making it feel like completely different, which was something I was afraid of when we were first seeing the trailers.
Right.
But it's like, what a lot of it helps is that you are the same Kratos from the previous games, which at the time, like those games were loved, but I feel like a lot of people like have turned on that series, the original God of Wars, which I still love.
That's fair. People have turned on them in the sense that it doesn't age well, the Kratos character, I don't think, because he's very one note. He's just screaming and wants revenge, which is fine to a degree. Yeah. But it's just by today's standards, we're like, wow, this is like, we like that? You know what I mean? It's like you're wondering.
Yeah. Games have just like better writing now. Stories.
But from what I've played, and I think I've seen other people make this comparison, it feels a lot like the movie Logan in the sense that it's like this guy who was this animalistic, all over like killer, you know what I mean, type of guy. Wolverine to a lesser extent, of course. He's not the God of War. But then now they're aging and they're past their prime and now they have someone to look after. And it's very similar in that respect. And I appreciate that because Logan was my favorite movie of last year. I loved it. But
I love that too. Yeah,
I really appreciated that. And I thought it was really cool. And I just thought it was so smart for them to not just go, hey, let's do the old God of War type of thing, but let's just up-res it and add a couple more features. They were like, no, we got to, adapt or die.
Different character, whatever.
And I remember, I don't know if you saw this, but there was like some like people talking like maybe this might kill Santa Monica if it isn't good.
Well, yeah, because they had that other game that got canceled.
Yeah, so that was like a thing, and that would have been crazy. So they really needed a home run, and they got a home run times 10
Yeah, they got
Um,
the biggest home run they could ask for.
yeah, so I understand the God of War love. I still need to finish it, which I'm planning on doing this break. But it's
Good.
just, it's really good. This was really like a year of single player, except for
Oh,
what I
yeah.
assume your number one is going to be.
Yes.
It
Well,
really was
we'll
a
get
year
to
of
that,
single player, narrative driven, cinematic kind of experiences, and most of them
which
being
I
kind of
love.
PlayStation, but and I like that too a lot. And that's definitely if I could describe this year in a nutshell, that's what I would say. But
I
yeah,
agree.
let's get it to the number one. Go for it.
Number
Just
one
tell me what it is.
is number one. If you know me, you
Yeah.
know it's obvious. It's Smash Brothers,
Yeah.
Smash Ultimate.
Yeah.
This is the game. This is all I need to really say. This is the game I've played the absolute most in the least amount of time
Interesting.
ever.
Oh, so
I
you're
have
saying
over
like you had
100
like,
hours. I have over 100 hours on this game.
and that was in like within a week, is what you're trying to say?
That was within since it came out to like a couple days ago when I last checked.
It's nuts.
So like
It's nuts,
about
man.
a month.
Yeah, like it's just that game is. I mean, it's not just because the game has content doesn't always make it great, right? But this thing
Everything
is just
here,
like,
dude,
oh my gosh. I mean, I even
everything
kind
is
of like the
worthwhile.
spirit system thing. I even kind of like the spirit mode, just because it's something to do, and I like just seeing what spirits are going to be in there. It's like fan service kind of. Just seeing like Shadow Mario
Oh,
as
yeah.
a spirit that I could have. I
Seeing
just think it's
Dr.
entertaining.
Dr. Mario's Otacon from Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, it's just
Like
interesting.
it's
Like it's
classic.
funny.
Some of them that World of Light are ridiculously hard.
Yeah, I've heard the same too. I
Which
haven't
I
beat
did
it yet, of
beat.
course, but
I did beat, and the ending to it is amazing, but
I've heard that too. I heard it's like kind of worth it, which is
it's
good.
great. It is worth it. I thought it was worth it.
Is it as bad as the subspace ending? Like in terms of the grind and the occasional like difficulty spikes type of stuff?
It's just long. If you have the right spirits going, you'll be fine, and they're all leveled up and stuff. You'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Smash is like it's an event whenever it comes out, and it's one I've like been with since Melee back on the GameCube, which is a contender for my favorite game of all time. Period. And this gave me everything I could have wanted and more from a Smash game. Like, I loved Smash 4, but it was kind of bare bones. I played it a lot with my friends, but there was not enough. There was not like that much there to keep.
Yeah,
a lot
you're
of
talking
people
about the Wii U
coming
one,
back.
right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
To keep a lot of people coming back. And Brawl, after loving Melee when I was a kid, Brawl was pretty disappointing, and this is definitely the best one since Melee. And if not, it may surpass it at a certain point.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, this happens a lot when you're playing Smash Brothers, but this one for me, and this could be just a factor of me not having played a Smash Brothers game in a while, but just there's just times when I'm playing this game where I'm like, how is this real? Like, I get Mario and Link, right? But why am I using Pac-Man to fight Bayonetta? Like, this just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like, it's really like, it's like
For
I'm
me,
constantly smiling at what kind of characters and franchises are being represented.
Yeah, because it's like Snake and Sonic and Brawl were crazy at
That
the
was
time.
nuts. That was nuts.
At the time. And then the Wii U version adds Mega Man and Pac-Man, which are like, okay, like that's pretty wild, but like, you know, you could see that kind of coming.
Yeah.
Like,
it makes sense,
somewhat.
like the mascot, kind of the pioneer gaming mascots in a lot
When
of
it
ways.
really goes up, when it really started going off the rails for me was when Ryu and Cloud are in the game. It's like okay, like there's so many reasons why that shouldn't happen, but it is, and it's amazing. And then now in this game, we have even crazier characters and a lot of characters that people have been asking for, such as Ridley and K. Rool, which K. Rool I've been wanting in the game because I love Donkey Kong Country.
Right.
But you know, and then we're getting like Joker from Persona 5.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about
as
that.
the new
What?
DLC, like
What?
that is crazy. That game's only on the PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah, what?
Like,
I was watching the Game Awards and I was like, what? Like, I was completely blown away. I had no idea that.
I was like, oh, they're gonna like when that. Yeah, I was watching the Game Awards too, and when that came on, I was like, oh, like they're gonna announce it for Xbox One and Switch. Like,
yeah, something like that.
It's Persona 5, like. But like him, and then he just turns the envelope over. And it's like, oh.
It's ridiculous. And what was interesting about it is that, from what I remember, Nintendo said that they decided all of them and that they were personally deciding them. That like,
Yes, it was not Sakurai. It was
yeah,
Nintendo as a
which would make
company.
me think, oh, cool. So we're gonna get like an actual
Spring
mushroom.
Man.
Yes,
You know,
Spring.
from Arms, like.
Yeah, Springman from Arms, guys like
maybe like
that.
an Octowing from Splatoon, like
Yeah.
boring, but like I mean, still cool, but like just like
It
Nintendo
just
characters.
won't let us dream. But now Joker, it's like what? So the 2 DLC characters we have confirmed, with the pre-order being Piranha Plant, which is wild in its own right,
I love it.
and then Joker from Persona, which I have no idea what that's gonna look like. Something tells me he's just gonna be overpowered like crazy when he first comes out. I can smell it.
Like having played Persona 5, and
Mhm.
I love Persona 5. Like I don't know what kind of moves they will give him. Like
Mhm.
I don't know. He could use. I don't know, man. I really don't know.
It's like when they announced like Duck Hunt, like where it's like,
Yeah.
what is he gonna do? And then you're using this dog that's like throwing pies that shoot. I don't even know how Duck Hunt works.
Yeah,
It's so
it's
weird.
the clay pigeons from
Yeah,
the
the
game.
clay pigeons. It's like they look like pies though, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on here.
So have you seen the leak of the it's a complete rumor, but like
Yeah.
it's apparently the rest of the DLC.
No, I have not seen the leak.
Okay, so I believe this came from 4chan, so like
Yeah,
it with
take a grain of
salt.
salt.
It might be correct because they've been correct before, but
Mhm.
anyway, complete rumor.
Mhm.
Apparently the second one is the main character of like one of the Dragon Quest games.
I could see that.
Which is huge in Japan, but not so much in the rest of the
Yeah.
world. But it is huge in Japan, so it makes sense. Ryu from Ninja Gaiden.
Okay.
Which is awesome.
That's pretty awesome. I like that. I could see
Gets
it.
gets a little less awesome here. Steve from Minecraft.
Oh no! Stop
generic,
it!
Generic Minecraft guy. And the last
Stop
one,
it! Stop
the
it!
last
Don't you
character-
dare besmirch Steve.
I mean, dude.
You're telling me you're not curious to see what the Minecraft character is gonna do in
I
Smash
mean,
Brothers?
like, I get why he's in there, but like.
Oh, that's gonna be so fun. Come on. Don't hate, dude. Oh, that's
it makes
awesome.
Sense. It makes sense. It makes sense.
I know what you mean by of all the Minecraft things, but I mean you kind of have to because everything is like everything else afterwards from Steve is just kind of like.
Oh,
what
don't
are you
get
gonna
me
do,
wrong.
Creeper? Oh, actually,
Don't get me
Creeper would be
wrong.
sick too. But yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Back in the day, I used to
man.
run Minecraft.
Oh, same,
Back in
dude.
the beta days.
Oh, I wasn't even on that. I hopped on an Xbox with my friends,
Oh,
and we
true.
spent our entire summer building a world. It was nuts. But anyway, go on.
Either way, yeah. And the last one, which is my personal favorite, the Doom Slayer from Doom.
From what? Doom?
From Doom, like the guy from Doom.
No. Doom
guy
guy?
in the armor. Yeah.
No. Oh
They would call
my
him the Doom
gosh.
Slayer, though, because it's the new game.
That would be
I
like their
love that.
4th M-rated character or something like that. Wouldn't it be like, because they don't have a lot of
Snake.
M-rated character games. I don't think.
Snake, Bayonetta.
Snake, Bayonetta, and then. Is that it? That might be
Yeah, I
it.
think so.
From what I think of. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But
Yeah.
that's like, that's fun,
It
man.
makes sense, man.
That's fun. I like it. And I was surprised that they didn't reveal more. I think it was during their, like the last Smash Direct. I thought they were going to reveal one of the characters that you could buy. That way it would make people be like, oh wow. Like,
Well, they did.
yeah, they did, but it was Piranha Plant, which is a little bit different, but yeah, you know what I mean. And I was like, okay, that's cool. It's wacky and kind of ridiculous. And then Joker, it's like, that was the most shocking game and related thing that was announced that I can think of last year. Just like Joker and Smash Brothers is kind of insane.
It is insane. Well, okay, there's another M-rated game. Persona 5.
Oh yeah, there you go. Persona 5. Wow. I'm excited, dude. I can't wait to play that. Smash Brothers, man. It's just that's what it is. It's I called it when I was talking to my friend the other day. It's like kind of like the fantasy football of gaming. Where it's like a lot of people who hopped on Smash Brothers when they were younger, nobody really knew what Earthbound is for the most part.
No, yeah, there were multiple characters back in the day. Like Captain Falcon, Ness, I thought were just from Smash.
Yeah, like a lot of people
they were made up for the game.
That's what's interesting about it. It's almost like kind of a giant Nintendo commercial. It almost how fantasy football, people who don't know football, if they get into it, all of a sudden they know who like Doug Baldwin is and just random football players like that have nothing to do with the teams and like where they're from. And all of a sudden they can name all of them. And people know if you ask them who Ness is, most people are going to be like, yeah, I know who that is. He's in Smash Brothers. So that's what's interesting about it, where it's just this just giant group of characters. And I approve of the number one choice. It's deep.
Well, it's responsible. And if you go that far, like it's responsible for bringing Fire Emblem to the West. You know?
That's true. That's true. That's true. I personally don't care about the Fire Emblem games. I'm tired of seeing them.
I've never played any of them.
But it is pretty cool though to see that happen. And just generate interest. So yeah, that's kind of what I would compare it to. And I respect it. You know what I mean? It's this super deep fighting game, but it can also just be this casual thing where you can throw around bombs at each other, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And there's
personally, I never play with.
Oh yeah, me either.
Ever. But
I played the other day and it wasn't too bad. It's not bad if you put low and you like choose the right ones. It's actually kind of fun because then it makes if there's like one person who's better than everybody else, it kind of makes it a little bit more even balanced, which is cool. But yeah, I approve of the pick, man. I love Smash Brothers Ultimate. I still have to unlock everybody because I'm terrible at video games and I lost a lot of the fights when they happened.
There's an option if you go into the Games and More section. There's like a door
Games
on the
and
bottom
More.
right.
Oh, okay.
It's like where classic mode is.
Yeah. Okay, that's where I gotta go.
A door will appear on the bottom right, and you just refight the characters you died to, trying to unlock.
All right, my friend lied to me. My friend lied to me. He was like, "You got to go in spirit mode and there's an option menu in there." And I was like, "I can't find it. I have to do all this." All right, I'm doing that immediately when I get home. Then I need Sonic, dude. I need him. I need him right now. I just need to see my dude.
It's trash.
But yeah, he's too predictable. That's the problem. But I still love to use him. So just in terms of like the rest of the year, what are some other like titles you think you played? I have some here that I played this year, like Super Mario Party is, I thought pretty good.
I played a little bit of that.
It was pretty fun.
I played the main other one that didn't make there's two like main other ones, or actually three.
Okay.
That I wanna give like a shout out to. So one will be Dragon Ball Fighters.
Okay.
I love fighting games. I love Dragon Ball Z, like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Dragon Ball in general, this was pretty much a no-brainer purchase for me. It looked amazing.
It does look really. It's a really good representation of that franchise. It feels right from just a little bit that I played and watched.
The only thing about it is that I love the time I played with it, but after I don't know, probably like 20 hours with it, I pretty much bounced off it.
Sure,
I still will pop it in every once in a while, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
Another game I want to give shout out to is Spyro.
Yeah, man. I've been thinking of doing a Let's Play just for the fun of it through my PS4. And I was thinking of doing Spyro because I want to pick a game that I've like kind of played before because then it'll be easier. Like I was thinking Bully Spider-Man or Spyro. And I might do that. Like I might do it because I don't know, there's like a nostalgia factor to it. And that's kind of why I want to play it. I grew up with the original ones on PS1, back when I was a kid. Mm-hmm.
And this one, it's just all you need really. Like, it's just like given a nice, amazing looking coat of paint. Just the gameplay is still there, still intact. There's a couple minor changes which I think are for the better. But yeah, I spent most of my winter break playing this game. I got the platinum trophy in the first one.
Nice.
Which I never do. I never do that.
Oh, I love getting platinums. I love getting all the trophies. I just did it for the other day for something. I forgot what it was though. Spider-Man. I finally got it in Spider-Man. But yeah, I think that's something that I'm missing. I kind of want to have that like old like mascot era platformer. Just single player adventure. I feel like
to Let's Plays.
Yeah, that's the thing with it. And it's been a while. I don't think I've played. Which one did I not play? I didn't play 2. No, I didn't play the first. I don't think I played. I forgot which one I haven't played.
I played the first 2 when I was younger, but I never really played the third one.
I think I played 3 and 2. I think this is like what happened with me in Ratchet and Clank. I played the third game first, then the first game, then the second game.
I've played every single Ratchet and Clank game to this day.
Yeah, me too. I've platinumed most of them too. But it's just the order by which I went about it was strange. But yeah, I'm really excited for it. You know what? I might just do that, man. I might give it a shot now. I think you encouraged me. You gave me the final push to just go out and get some Spyro.
All right, cool.
So yeah, what else you got?
And then the one more game I want to give a sort of honorable mention to is Monster Hunter World.
Right. You were talking to me about this.
I bought it. I played it. I got it like a little while after it came out, like a couple months. And after hearing all these great things about it, like it's the best one to jump into, blah, blah, blah. And I can appreciate that it's like, it is a good game. It is a really good game. It looks great. The gameplay is very deep, mechanics. I just personally just didn't really like it that much. Couldn't really get into it. It seems like a huge time commitment.
Like not your thing type of thing.
Just not really my thing. And I didn't really have friends to play with it, which is a big part of the game too. So.
Right. That's fair. It does look ludicrous though when I see people playing it. I'm like, what is going on? It's 8-hour battles. I'm like, okay.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah. I mean, I get the appeal, like, which is why I'm putting it here, but.
It's good at what it does.
Yeah. I just didn't really like it that much.
I feel you.
All
Anything else you got there?
That's pretty much it for games of this year.
Oh, you want to talk about next year?
I mean, we could.
If you want, we don't have too much time. I know you got class in a little bit, but
No, yeah, that's fine. I just want to
quick shout outs
some games for next year. I'm trying to get Resident Evil 2.
Okay.
Sorry, Kingdom Hearts 3. This is my game purchase of the month.
Okay.
I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. This new remake looks amazing.
It does look amazing. It's a safe bet. You know what I mean? Like it's a safe.
Yeah.
Remember when they announced what was it, 4? Wait, hold on. 5. Which is the one that what was the last one?
7.
7, there we go. Remember when they announced it? Like it was like a rumor.
Yeah, it was
and
out
everything?
of nowhere.
That was insane. That was pretty cool. I don't
E3.
really play the Resident Evil series, and even for me, I was like, what? Like that was nuts.
Dude,
Shout out E3
one of my
that
favorite series.
And I'm assuming Devil May Cry is on there for you too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that looks good too. It does look good.
Yeah,
it looks fun. I think I might be in. I might be in.
Capcom has been absolutely killing it lately.
Yeah, they have. They were not in a great place before. They still treat Mega Man a little bit poorly, but they did give him a new one.
Mega Man 11. That's a game in 2018 that I missed that I really want to play.
I want to play that. I definitely want to play. I want to play A Way Out, just because it looks interesting, and I like that it's this dependent on co-op game. Yeah. So whenever I get the chance, I'd love to play that. I'm just really curious about it. I never got to play Detroit. I was into it, but I heard there were some conflicting things on it.
Well, after Beyond Two Souls sucked for me, hated it.
That's true. That's
I
fair.
Just completely lost interest.
Let me see here. I'm just looking up some games that come out next year. So you kind of just trash on Kingdom Hearts, and you know what? I agree with you. It's fine. You can trash on Kingdom Hearts all you want.
Yeah, I mean, I like Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah, my thing is I hate Kingdom Hearts 2. I don't hate it, but I don't like it. It's just.
But I've only played the first 2, really. I played a little bit of Birth by Sleep, but not much of it at all.
Birth by Sleep's alright. It's just that series and its fan base is so out of control. Like, it's just gotten ridiculous.
It's just too much, dude. The dialogue is corny. And
oh, my God.
The cutscenes are not well shot.
I don't know why Square makes it their prerogative to have the corny, like the most cringy trailers, like, ever.
Yeah.
It's like it's not synced correctly. It's awful. Oh, my God.
Yeah. It's just, it's conflicting for me because, like, exploring the Disney worlds and the combat, especially the combat, is so much fun.
My hope for why I'm looking forward to it so much is that it takes me back to when I really loved that first game, and also just because I'm curious. I think there's an innate curiosity among a lot of gamers just to see how this thing plays out. It's been in development forever. The second game, like the second proper game, came out in like 2004.
PS2.
So, PS2 era, 2004 game, like that's insane. So I think that's like, there's just a curiosity there, and that's part of it for me. And I'm hoping maybe it has some parts that just take me back to the first game, which I love and will defend till the day I die. I do think the first game's great, and I don't mind that the first game's cheesy, because it's the first game and it's about a kid. When we're on game number 8 and it's still cheesy, it's like, all right, what are we doing? Like,
okay,
this is a bit much.
One last game. There's a lot of great looking games coming out in 2019 that I want to play and play through and get. But my most anticipated game, games are Last of Us 2, Death Stranding, but we don't know the release dates yet. Not even a year.
Yeah, no guarantee that they come out either.
Yeah. I'm not going to talk about them yet, or at all. My most anticipated game is Sekiro Shadows Die Twice.
Okay, yeah. I knew you were going to say that. All right. I'm not into those type of games, but bro, that trailer from E3, I was all in. I was like, oh my gosh, this looks so good.
You're not a Souls fan? I thought you were.
No, I mean, I'm a fan of the franchise in terms of, I just respect that there's this series that makes a lot of money that just is super hard, like unapologetically hard. Like, I respect that. But I admittedly am playing it sometimes. I'm just like, I just can't. I just can't. It's just too morbid and awful for me. I'm just like, I can't do this.
Dude,
I do like
that's
watching
like the
people
best
play
part
it
of
though.
the game.
I do like watching people play it though. I don't know why. It's just interesting. But this one, it just looks a little bit more fun to play, at least for me anyway. It just looks like it's a little bit more fluid in terms of the movement, but that's just me.
My thing with From Software
Yeah.
is, and the Dark Souls series, and especially Bloodborne, is their level design, the worlds
Yeah,
that they
that's true.
create. And a samurai Japanese setting with like mythical creatures and like
Mhm.
some kind of like machinery with the arm, that is like right up my alley. Like that,
Mhm.
I think that stuff all looks amazing. Like the giant snake in the one trailer
Mhm.
at the end, the E3
That was cool.
trailer.
That was cool.
And it's directed by Miyazaki.
Yeah,
and
true.
Like, he can do no wrong pretty much.
That's fair. I think that, it's going to be interesting. It's probably going to be a great game though. Like I have no doubt about that. But I do have some questions for you, for some other ones, like some rapid fire, since I know you have to go soon.
Yeah.
Do you think Anthem's going to be good?
No.
No?
No.
I feel like it might be. I feel like we're overreacting too much.
I think it's going to be like, it's going to come out and it's going to get like 7.5 review scores.
I can see that too.
And then the fans are going to hate it.
Oh, I can see that. Like where it's like, you're saying like Mass Effect Andromeda type of thing?
I don't know about that bad, but like, it's just going to like, I feel like it's going to come out and be like very like lukewarm.
I see.
Just
I feel that.
It'll be like came and went.
The best thing going for it is if the gameplay is just really sharp and that you feel like you're playing an Iron Man game and then nothing else matters and everybody just kind of takes over. But it just feels like that game's being marketed weirdly. I mean, the hype for it was through the roof, and then I don't remember a game where it doesn't feel like they did anything disastrously wrong in the marketing, and then the hype died for it.
I know what they did.
What do you mean? What did they do? What did they do?
It's EA.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That's true. I forgot about that little detail. EA, oh my gosh, they're gonna kill BioWare, man.
They are.
Are you ready for the show in, what'll this be? Like July?
2021?
Yeah, it's July when I'm like...
Where BioWare's closed down.
The funeral for BioWare. You can definitely come on for that one.
Oh my god.
Some other ones really quickly. Crackdown 3.
Like, what is going on? Why did it take so long?
I have no
What's
idea.
up with that?
I thought that was like a safe,
happened?
fun game. You're not expecting a 10. You're just expecting something that'll be flawed and addicting, though.
I'm sure it'll come out and be fine. And be pretty good.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But what happened?
Yeah, I don't understand.
That game was announced in 2014, dude.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Gaming industry, man. This is what happens. I think that...
What?
It's crazy. I mean, I remember when that first Crackdown game came out.
I love Crackdown 1.
Yeah, remember, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't that the one that came with a demo for Halo 3?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's like where its claim to fame was, but then the game was good.
Yeah.
It was like really flawed, but it was so fun.
There was nothing really to it.
Yeah, it was just it
was very simple.
Upgrade your guy.
The gameplay was
Super
fun.
cop.
Like once you get to a certain point, you're jumping over buildings and stuff. It's sick.
And like Crackdown 2 was kind of a misfire, but at least the collecting orb part was fun. At least for me anyway.
I never played Crackdown 2. I heard it was terrible.
It wasn't terrible. It just really wasn't great. Like it's playable. You know what I mean? Like it's playable. It's just the aesthetic of it and like not that a plot matters, but it's just like kind of the premise of it isn't as good. And I hate when games that are like the prequel or the previous game, they somehow look better than the new one.
Yeah.
That's always a problem. Whether it be graphical fidelity or just the style of it. Like, I mean, I mentioned with you, like Duke Nukem Forever somehow looks worse than when they first announced it. Like somehow. I don't know how they managed to do that. That's always a problem. And with Crackdown 3, I'm like, this game has been through a lot. I hope it's okay. For Xbox's sake. Although I'm sure they'll be fine. And then the last one, there's two actually, Rage 2 and Days Gone. Okay, Rage 2 I think will be good, but I'm worried about Bethesda right now.
Rage 2, I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be a great game that like doesn't really sell like a lot of Bethesda games, like Evil Within and Wolfenstein and stuff.
Yeah. Anything that isn't Fallout or Skyrim, essentially.
Yeah,
every now and then they mess up with it. And then lastly, Days Gone.
I played Rage 2 at E3 though. I played Rage 2 at E3.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that you went to E3. How was it?
It was great, and I enjoyed playing Rage 2 there.
That's awesome. I forgot you told me about that. I forgot about that. You just went to E3. What do you think about Days Gone though?
I'm a huge PlayStation fanboy, even to a certain extent. I have no interest.
No interest?
None.
My interest is strictly just because of the cycle of development, where I don't even know if I'll pick up this game, but I can't wait for it to come out. I'm just really curious. I mean, this could end Sony Bend. I mean, it probably will end Sony Bend if it doesn't come out properly. And I think the concern, if it doesn't, I mean, they haven't made a game since like the God of War game on PSP, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm gonna.
Wasn't that by
I'm gonna check
Ready
that
at
right
Dawn?
now. No, they haven't made a game since. Let me see. I don't know actually.
Wasn't the God of War PSP game?
No,
by
Uncharted.
Ready at Dawn?
Uncharted was their last one. The Golden Abyss.
On the Vita?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2011.
Oh damn.
So like, I'm really worried about them. Where it's just like, if this bombs or it just doesn't do well, I think it has to bomb for them to get shut down. I think Sony usually, they're not like
sell.
EA.
It'll sell. I think it'll sell. It's a
I think it'll sell
PlayStation
as long
exclusive with
as
a guy,
true.
with a motorcycle guy fighting zombies. I think it'll sell.
I think it'll sell as long as there's not like a conflation with The Last of Us. I think that's a real problem. Where like people are like think the games are a little bit too similar. And just in terms of the premise, where except one has a motorcycle essentially. I think the games are probably different than that, but I can see where people, if Last of Us came out in like May,
like an open world game.
Yeah.
Is a linear game.
I could just see it though. I could see people being like, I'm just gonna wait for The Last of Us. You know?
Yeah, and I am one of them.
Yeah, and of course, Last of Us, my favorite game of all time, and I can't wait for the next one. Are there any more thoughts you have, just in general, on the gaming landscape? What's upcoming? It's been fun.
I think gaming's in a good spot right now. A lot of great games are coming out very consistently that even the likes of me can't keep up.
Yeah.
Which is almost unheard of.
It says a lot, and I think there's a lot of stuff for everybody. You know what I mean? If just for the casual people, you got the Fortnite explosion, which I semi-approve of. I enjoy Fortnite every now and then.
I haven't played in a while, but it was fun.
It was fun. It's like admittedly kind of fun. And then you got like Resident Evil came back, like horror stuff. You have the super hard games like, like you start with Dark Souls and all that. EA's still doing weird stuff, which is always interesting, I guess to observe. Devil May Cry. Like there's a lot of cool stuff coming out. Nintendo's back, I think is the way I would describe the past 2 years. They're back. Although I am worried for them. I don't know. I just think when the new consoles come out.
There's always reason to be worried.
When the new consoles come out, man. I really think they need a new IP. I don't think
that's the issue.
You don't think so?
No, when the new consoles come out, I think the Switch will be fine.
You think that'll be like, it'll be good because it's like the counterculture almost?
It has the library.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be cheaper, and it has the portable side to it, which a lot of people like, so.
And I think it has this like family chillness to it. Like family friendly, like, hey, you just want to be casual and play games, like type of attitude. While the other things are like super hyper realistic or whatever. And the Switch is just going to be like, maybe that's what they're doubling down on. I worry a little bit just in terms of, I think at some point you got to have a new property. Or you got to bring something back.
Well, yeah, I mean, ARMS last year.
Yeah, ARMS. I mean, okay.
Splatoon is going, Splatoon's
good.
New.
Splatoon's good.
Anyway, yeah.
I think it would be cool if they brought Earthbound back. I feel like they could do some cool things with that.
I hope.
That'd be cool. Because they don't have like, I mean, they do, I think, but like, I feel like it'd be cool if they had like a first party like type of, they're pushing this Earthbound like RPG game, you know what I mean? And especially when RPGs are, none of them are really like regular kids type of thing. And I think that would,
Retro Studios presents Mother 4.
Oh man. Oh, stop, bro. don't say that, bro. Stop it. I can't wait.
All right. Well, I gotta get going here, but lastly, I do believe this is the last year for the PS4 and Xbox One before I think 2020, the next gen consoles will be released.
Yeah, I agree. That's probably what's gonna happen. Even though I haven't met a single person who's ready for the next consoles, but whatever.
I mean, I wasn't, but I think by 2020 I will be.
I have to see first. I think it depends. It just depends what they show, obviously. But if they come out and they're like, hey, here's the next, what sequel do we need right now? Infamous. I'm trying to think
Zero
of like.
Dawn 2.
Oh yeah, there we go. That's what I was looking for. Horizon.
Title for PS5.
Like that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty sick. But yeah, Jack, it's been a blast having you on, and of course, you're always welcome back.
Much.
I'm happy to have someone to talk games in a deep way. But yeah, man, you're more than welcome to come back.
All right, man. Cool. Thank you.
All right, see you, man.
Yeah.
And that was my friend, Mr. Jack Harmonay, calling in. Everybody, he's heading to class now, like a good student, of course, should. And we just, that's it. We just finished talking about our favorite games of 2018, just a gaming discussion in general. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, because it's been a while since I've gone deep on a video game related topic on the show. And I really enjoyed it. You know what I mean? I love video games, and it's just been a while since I've done that. So yeah, now we're going to take a bit of a break, and when we get back, maybe around 7-ish, going to talk about the NFL playoffs this past weekend, and then close the show out with my kind of retrospective of 2018 in general. So, still got some more stuff to talk about, guys, so stay tuned. You're listening to Digital Dash here on 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair. And what's up, everybody? We're back here on 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair, just past the top of the hour. I just got done talking with my friend Jack Harmonay about all the video game goodness that happened last year. And now we're moving on to sports, because I think those things are happening. They are a big deal. We just finished with Wild Card Weekend, and I had to talk about this. I don't always talk about sports on this show, of course, but every now and then I feel like it's necessary. It's necessary to commend good things that happen. You know what I mean? Just strictly good things. And of course I'm referring to the Chargers, beating the Ravens this weekend, I should say, actually, by a score of 23-17. I'm going to be recapping some of the other games, but first let me just get the Chargers over with, of course, because you guys all know I love them, and King Philip reigns. He still reigns as king. And what's funny about this game is I actually think that it's, again, it's just been the story of the Chargers this year so far, where they typically are a franchise and team that tend to blow games, like they just blow them at the end of it. And this year they've had a lot of points where that almost happened, but then it didn't. And of course now you see they finished with a 12 or an 11-win team, or as an 11-win team, I should say. And it's just, I'm sorry, 12-win team. And it's just interesting how this is yet again another game where it's like they almost blow it, where they're leading 23-3 in the fourth quarter, and seemingly Baltimore can't do a single thing with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. And then all of a sudden they start opening up the playbook for him. He starts throwing, and all of a sudden we had a game, And also we had an absolutely reprehensible call by Anthony Lynn / offense coordinator Schottenheimer, whatever, not Schottenheimer. And just how they, for some reason, decided to pass. It's like past the 2-minute warning, and first of all, it was absolute, just terrible, blasphemous call on Russell Okung for holding, where they got the first down and that would have ended the game, but then they called a holding call on Russell Okung, which was just complete BS. I saw a little bit, but that's not enough to call at the end of the game. Come on, really? You're doing that home field thing where the home field gets those 3 calls, or at least one, a signature call every game where they just, that everything, tilted in their favor, but whatever. And then they throw it on that 3rd and long. And I was like, why would you, because this is what I mean by the Chargers sometimes. What was the upside there? You weren't trying to get the first down. You were just trying to get yards to make the punt easier, because then what if it's an incompletion? Then all of a sudden that gives them even more time to go down the field and score. Of course, this is all, crying over spilled milk and whatnot. They still did win the game. Defense played well. Melvin Ingram, with one of the better performances of his career, just completely dominated the entire game. And I think domination is a good way to describe it in terms of the Chargers' defense. I think that a lot of people, and I've talked about this before, where I don't like the kind of the pessimism, the cynicism with Lamar Jackson, to the extent of, I don't like how it feels like the conversation after every single start he had would be, I don't know if he can work though. Can he throw though? And it's a fair criticism, don't get me wrong. It is a very valid criticism. But it just felt like, can we also talk about the good? And what we know is he's a playmaker, and that he can run. And he can run quite well, and that he got the Ravens to the playoffs after winning 6 games. And that's my problem with this narrative, this conversation about Lamar Jackson seems to only be about, every time they would win, they'd be like, well, he still can't throw. It's yeah, but there are other rookie quarterbacks that struggled at throwing and couldn't run, a la Sam Darnold, that we were the conversation would be after, it's a rookie, it happens, you know what I mean? It's why can't we say that with Lamar Jackson, though? You know what I mean? It's just this weird kind of bias in the NFL that I feel like has been permeated over the course of, decades. But I thought it was, in fairness, I did think Lamar Jackson didn't have a good game. He had a lot of bad passes. But I also think that a lot of blame needs to go on the Ravens for that, where they didn't really set up the offense correctly. The Chargers were playing with like 25 defensive backs and just making sure that they stopped the run and daring them to throw. And it feels like John Harbaugh and those guys, the coaching staff, just kind of were just running with it, pun not intended, in terms of, wow, this guy just came in for us after Flacco got hurt and is running the ball in a way that no other quarterback in the league has ever really, not ever really done, but isn't doing right now, and it's just working, so let's just keep rolling with it. But then they make the playoffs, and they kind of just kept rolling with it against a team that they played not too long ago, and you see what happens, where they stack the line and dared him to throw, and he had a lot of incompletions. He was like 3 of 10 heading into the fourth, which is not a lot of incompletions, but he just didn't have a lot of passes. His passer rating was down and all that stuff. But I just think that that's weird. Yeah, he has a problem throwing, but that doesn't mean you get so scared, especially when you're down. That's what doesn't make sense to me. Especially when you're down by a lot and you still try and do the run thing. It's like you didn't come into the game with a backup plan. And I think that people are going to blame Lamar Jackson, but also keep in mind he almost brought him for a comeback, and he made some really great runs and throws at points, in my opinion. That let's also talk about how the Ravens, I think, kind of let him down a bit. And in my opinion, still has a promising future. He is the youngest quarterback to ever start a playoff game. Let's not make the conversation about Lamar Jackson, oh no, this guy might not be able to throw. It's a valid criticism, but I don't think that we should only talk about that. I feel like there's this weird bias against him that hasn't really been there for some of the other rookie quarterbacks like Josh Rosen and Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold and Josh Allen, where it's just a little bit like, can we talk about how they at least won though? And you can make the excuse like, yeah, the Ravens have a stacked team, they've got a great defense, especially like there's more of a support group around him. It's like, yeah, but like still, like let's be fair though, and like let's just say, hey, he's a rookie. You know what I mean? There's still potential here. And the Ravens offense for the better part of the last like 15 years, they've basically just been only defense and never anything exciting on offense. You know what I mean? Almost like the Eli Manning from the Giants from a couple years ago, where basically their whole offense was Beckham, and they would score 13 points a game and just have a dominant defense. That's like what the Ravens have been for like a decade, you know, and they finally have someone who's doing some interesting things on offense, and our only conversation is going to be about what he can't do. It's just weird to me. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the Chargers-Ravens. Sorry about going into that too much. The other game was, from the AFC anyway, was the Texans and the Colts, which ended in the defeat of the Houston Texans, the higher seed, 21-7, the final score. Definitely the biggest stinker of the weekend. There wasn't really anything to gather from this game. It was unfortunate that the Texans just kind of got stomped. They just didn't look right, you know, and a lot of people have been saying, not a lot of people, but people have been saying, hey, I don't know if this team is that great. You know what I mean? And I thought that at some point you have to give a team credit when they win as many games as they did. But Deshaun Watson, I still have a lot of faith in. He didn't play very well. And I think that the Colts, seriously, like, you got to give credit where credit is due. You know what I mean? Like, the Colts were a team that not too long ago was having a coach bail on them, and Josh McDaniels, who agreed to go there and then took it back. And I just think that you look at where that team was not so long ago, what the conversation about that team was. And you have to give credit to the GM and the coaching staff too, the GM, Chris Ballard. And you have to give credit because it's like, this is a team that not so long ago, like I said, was kind of in a funk, and they might not have had a quarterback. Andrew Luck was seriously hurt, but now he's back. And what's cool is that they gave him a line. You know what I mean? They gave him a decent run game with Marlon Mack and Najeem Hines, like some guys that can make plays there. And Eric Ebron was a great pickup, it turns out. Looks like the Lions gave up on him too quickly at tight end. And they just decided, you know what? Let's just make an unstoppable line and just put all our faith in Andrew Luck. That's what they invested in. Their draft picks came out well. I believe both of them actually were Pro Bowl selections or all-pro teams. So that's great. And then, you know, they come into Houston, and Houston, I think, had, in my opinion, a superior defense, you know, with Clowney and Watt and some other guys on that team. But it's the Colts also not a terrible defense. You know what I mean? They can make plays every once in a while. And that's what I mean is this team is not just Andrew Luck. It is Andrew Luck, but also having support for once. You know what I mean? It's been a while since he's had that. And it's cool to see because I root for Andrew Luck. He's like kind of cheesy and like the goody two shoes of the whole bunch of quarterbacks we have in the league right now. But still, it's entertaining to see him come back. You know what I mean? And he's definitely going to win comeback player of the year, like, without a doubt. But, you know, at a certain point, everyone was like, I remember saying it to just my mom and dad, where I was like, is this Dan Marino? Is this going to be a guy who just never got the support and was super talented and just never got the support he needed to win a Super Bowl or have a great, meaningful career in terms of winning? It could be it. And not too long ago, we were like, I don't know if this guy's going to play again. And clearly he is, and he's doing well. And I really give credit to them. I'm not pinning too much of this on the Texans, although it is weird that you would get beat so badly like that. I mean, they only scored in the fourth quarter, like kind of like a garbage time. The Colts are relaxed on defense type of thing. And that's concerning. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, you know what I mean? I was a bit surprised by that, especially when you got DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson, who I think Deshaun Watson's a little bit flawed, where he's great and he makes some amazing plays happen. But I think sometimes his playmaking ability, he maybe relies on it too much, where he might hold the ball for too long when he's in the pocket. And that's always just not a great thing. Of course, I think you have to I think they have to find a better way to acclimate to his style of play, the Houston Texans, I mean, or vice versa. So that's my recap of that game. There's not many thoughts on that. I didn't get to see too much of it, because I was going to watch it, but then I decided to do something else, and then I saw that it was kind of a blowout. So I was like, I don't feel like caring. And then I played some Fortnite with some friends, so there's that. But then, as far as the NFC games go, first up, Seahawks Cowboys. I wasn't paying as much attention because I was hanging out with girls. No, I'm kidding. I was, but that's not why I was not watching the game. It's partially why, but I was just hanging out with other people and, you know, wasn't paying attention as much. They weren't big football fans for sure, which is fine. And me and my friend were watching on like the laptop and trying to be somehow paying attention to multiple things at once. So I didn't get to see it really in depth, but I will say this, man. Ezekiel Elliott is frustratingly good. He really is. And I hate the Cowboys, and it's better for America when they lose. Like, it's just proven statistical fact that it's better. But, you know, seeing them just run all over Seattle at some points. And also, I know that, like I said, I didn't pay attention to the game too much, but a lot of people were saying, like, why did the Seahawks keep running the ball? I know my dad texted me about this too. And the Seahawks actually had a pretty decent run game this year with Chris Carson and Mike Davis as the primary beneficiaries of that. But it wasn't working all game, apparently, and from what I saw, it wasn't. And then all of their pass plays were doing well, but they didn't pass. So it was this weird thing where it's like you have Russell Wilson, but you're not using him. What are you doing? Like, if the run game isn't working, then I feel pretty good about being like, oh, well. Like, who is like, oh, well, we have to use Russell Wilson now? Like, what do you think you have? Blake Bortles on your team? And it's like a Lamar Jackson thing where it's like they refuse to let him throw. The difference that Russell Wilson's like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You know, so I thought that was surprisingly poor performance by like Pete Carroll and the coaching staff. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And of course, the final score being 22-24. But still, it was a bit weird. You know what I mean? For that to happen, and it's unfortunate. I hate that the Cowboys won because their fan bases are gonna be obnoxious for another week or however long that they make it into the playoffs. But yeah, I didn't get to see it as much because, like I said, we were hanging out with some friends who weren't big into football, and also I think we were playing Mario Party. So it was hard to play Mario Party, also talk to friends and also those friends don't like football, and then watch the game on a laptop. So I didn't have too many insight into that game as much, but still, you know, an unfortunate result. You know what I mean? But the Chargers made up for it at least, because that's like one of my number one things is that the Cowboys lose. Like, that's what I care about almost as much as the Chargers winning. No, I'm just kidding. I care about the Chargers winning more. But it would be great if the Cowboys lost. But as for the other NFC game, oh boy. The Bears and the Eagles with a final score of 16-15, with the Eagles moving on. If anyone was listening to my friend Jack Bartek's show before, I came on for the last second and talked about how, you know, at one point, like, one of the stats was that Super Bowl winning quarterbacks are 9-1 against guys who are making their debut at quarterback in the wild card game, which is kind of a weird, like, wordy stat, but still it's true. Now it's 10-1. And this Nick Foles thing is really incredible. Like, it really, really is. And hold on one second while I take a sip of water. That felt good. And it's just amazing, this Nick Foles thing, where, like, there's actually not a quarterback controversy in Philly, but more of a, oh my gosh, like, maybe they won't extend him. You know what I mean? Or Nick Foles is just going to get paid in the offseason. That's definitely probably going to happen from another team. Because they owe him $20 million. It's a team option. I don't think they're going to take that, but especially when you have Wentz. But it's just amazing to see. Like, they beat the Rams. They win, like, all these games in a row. And I had a good feeling about the team. This was one of the games heading into the weekend where I actually thought it had the highest chance of potentially being a blowout. Just, I could see them heading in and the Bears defense just being too much, and just destroying them. You know what I mean? Like, Chicago's first time being in the playoffs in a while. Maybe they're excited. But instead, the opposite happened. It was a very close game, very contentious game. Pretty good game, in all things considered. But yeah, the Eagles, they have that loss against Dallas, which everyone thought like that was it. Then they beat the Rams somehow, which, was the beginning of the Legend of Nick Foles Part 2. And just some breaking news, actually. Packers hired a new head coach. Green Bay names former Titans offensive coordinator Matt LaFleur as their new head coach. So that's interesting. Whatever. I don't really have a take on that right now. But then moving on, they beat Houston 32-30. Then they beat Washington, which is whatever. And then they beat the Bears in the playoffs. It was pretty nuts, man. Like, I don't know what to say. And it's funny because I've talked about how I don't think Mitch Trubisky is very good, but he played well in this game, or at least well enough. You know what I mean? And, this is another game that I missed a little bit of because I was recovering from a stroke that I had after watching the Chargers almost blow the game. So I missed like the first quarter and a half. But still, it was good. And Nick Foles started off poorly, but then he's just a gamer, and he had that game-winning drive at the end of the game. That was remarkable to see. And Mitch Trubisky didn't really play too poorly. I don't think Mitch Trubisky is very good. I think that he's just got an amazing supporting cast around him. I don't think he's bad. I just think he's like got the Bortles thing where he's just got this super supportive cast around him that's making him look better. Of course, Bortles looked terrible this year, but the year before, I'd say. I think Mitch Trubisky's better than Blake Bortles, but I think that he's got a lot of problems. And I have this thing where I kind of root against the Bears because I find it funny that he got picked over Deshaun Watson. And this just seems like there's a weird pick every year. And for all I know, Mitch Trubisky can be like a Hall of Famer by next year. I don't know. But it's just always interesting to me where it's like, this is Deshaun Watson who has won games at a high level, beaten Alabama, you know what I mean? And then here's Mitch Trubisky who's played like 12 college games, but then and for UNC. And then he gets picked ahead of Deshaun Watson. It's just weird. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be one of those things where if we look back and Trubisky turned out terrible and Deshaun Watson continues on the pace that he's going and improves, we're going to be like, why did they, like, it's just going to be weird. I remember when they made that pick and I was shocked. I was like, what, where is this coming from? You know what I mean? I know he threw a bunch of interceptions in college and that's a fair complaint, but also he played a lot and he played against the best of the best in college football, so I thought it was weird that they didn't take him. But anyway, sorry for that tangent. Back to the Bears-Eagles game. He played all right, and he had that great throw to Allen Robinson in the drive where they took the lead. That was pretty cool. And then, of course, you have the ending with after Foles gets the touchdown. Then they have Mr. Cody Parkey, who's been trending a lot the past couple days, or past 24 hours. And here's my message, man: leave Cody Parkey alone. He's been memeified. The Bears fans booed him and all this stuff. And, like I said, I missed some of the game because of the stroke I had after watching the Chargers. And I was like, did he have like a Mason Crosby, like missed 4 field goals? Did he have a Nate Kading from circa 2008 where like you miss all these field goal kicks? It's like, okay, he missed the game winner from 43, which by the way, he didn't miss. NFL came out earlier today and said it was actually blocked. It was tipped. So take with that what you will. And he missed a 43-yarder. And everyone's been reacting to this like it was Blair Walsh, who infamously a few years back missed like a 28-yard field goal against Seattle to win the game. And that was Minnesota and Seattle, of course. And that's like crazy. Like, I get when people get mad at that. Like, that's crazy for you to miss that type of kick in that scenario. But it's like, 43, should you make that? Yeah. But I thought it was like this terrible thing. You know what I mean? Like this awful, like, oh, he also missed 3 field goals early in the game. And it's not. You know what I mean? Like, we're really going to rag on this guy for that? Hey, I got an idea, Chicago. Play your superstar defense. How about you stop Nick Foles then? You know what I mean? You guys talk about a big game about your defense and how you can stop everybody. You can stop the Rams. You can stop the Chiefs or whatever. But then or they didn't play the Chiefs. But then, you're going to complain because your kicker missed the thing at the end. I even saw some people on Twitter, like from the Bears, that were like, kind of cussing out the fans and being like, this is hard. You know what I mean? Like, leave him alone, basically. And I was like, yeah, this is kind of ridiculous. I know Chris Long on Twitter was like, the kick was tipped. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like indirectly defending Parkey to an extent. It's just like, come on, people. You know what I mean? Like, that makes football, that always bothers me. You know what I mean? Like, you're booing this guy, really? Stop making him a scapegoat. Like, what is this, Steve Bartman? You know what I mean? Like, come on. There were other things in the game that could have gone right. I don't mind it when fans get upset when people just aren't playing hard and it's like really ridiculous, the type of things that happen. Because that's like, all right, dude, like people are paying money to see, and you know what I mean? Like that type of stuff, like you should at least play and like do your job to an extent. But it's like, it's not like he wanted to miss that kick. You know what I mean? Cody Parkey didn't go like, oh man, how great would it be if I missed this field goal and get booed in my home stadium? No, it didn't happen. But yeah, and then the Eagles move on. So that's the thing, man. It was a crazy game, and man, when I was watching that field goal too, when it bounced off of the side post, I thought that it bounced in. Like I thought it was gonna go off the goal post and then into the field goal net or whatever. But instead, so like at first I was like no, but then because I was rooting for the Eagles because of my friend, and also because the Nick Foles thing is just entertaining to watch, so I wanted them to win, and then. And then it bounces off the crossbar at the bottom, like the bottom goalpost part or whatever it's called, and then it lands in the middle of the field. I was mentioning this before with a friend of mine where I was like, it felt like the end of like the movie where like some guy falls off a cliff and you can't see anything, and then it shows the arm reach out on top of the cliff. Like that's what it felt like. For at first it looked like it didn't make it, and then the camera zoomed out, and then the ball was there. So it's like what? They won. And it was a crazy, crazy ending. One of the crazier endings I've seen in a while for sure. I just appreciated that. You know what I mean? It was great as a football fan. But yeah, now let's look ahead to the games this weekend. We got Chargers going against the Patriots. I'll cover that one first in the AFC. Guys, I don't even want to talk about it. This is a moment. You know what I mean? And I feel like I mentioned the reads of the week and how this might be Philip Rivers' last chance to win a ring. He's got to go through Mr. Brady, Mr. Timothy Brady, who I definitely think has obviously looked his most vulnerable this year. I don't think the Patriots at all conveyed the feeling of, wow, that team deserves a bye. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't give me that feeling. I'm not saying they're awful. I don't actually think Brady's been that awful. I think he's been He's been okay. You know what I mean? People are acting like it feels like people have been saying he's washed like the Peyton Manning last year type of washed. And I'm like, no, he's been just You know what I mean? He's kind of been up and down. And the receivers have kind of not been awesome. You know what I mean? They lost Josh Gordon. Of course, I'm not trying to be insensitive to what happened with Josh Gordon, of course. But, you know, just those things that happen. And yeah, like that's this whole like kind of ordeal that happens there where people, once again, I think are underestimating the Patriots to a degree. And I think the only reason a lot of people are saying if they do pick the Patriots, it's not because they're necessarily the better team. It's just success and who they are. And because it's the Patriots and because of Bill Belichick. I'm not going to make a prediction for this game because it involves my team, so I am emotionally compromised. But I will say, man, I'm not going to be able to do anything on Sunday. Like, I'm just not going to be able to survive. Like, it's going to be rough. You know what I mean? It's just going to be a rough day. rough. But yeah, I'm still excited. I think we can do it, man. And what's unfortunate is Rivers is 0-7 against Brady in his career. So it's not really looking great in terms of the numbers and the history. But you know what? Who knows? Maybe this is when the history gets broken or the records get reset, whatever terminology you want to use. Maybe that's what happens. So looking forward to it, man. Not going to pick it. The next game, though, from the AFC is the Colts at the Kansas City Chiefs. This one's going to be fun, man. It's on Saturday. I'm really excited. I think that the Colts have a very good chance to win this game. I really do. I know Mahomes I don't like pulling the, inexperienced thing. But I do think it means a lot that it's Andrew Luck versus Patrick Mahomes, which it's just they've got that good offensive line for Luck, man. And I know the Chiefs' offense has been absolutely just a rocket-powered offense, but I do think that the Colts can make a good run at this one. I think that the Chiefs have looked slightly vulnerable the past few weeks, especially after the Chargers beat them. And I think that defense is a real problem. And I think that they really can't stop anybody if the game's on the line. And also just take into account the history of Andy Reid. You know what I mean? Andy Reid, for some reason, in the playoffs is, he messes up with clock management. I mean, it's become a meme at this point. So I wouldn't be too surprised there. You know what I mean? If he makes some blunder, remember last year when they lost to the Titans, who literally weren't good at any aspect of football, but they still lost? That happened last year. So like I said, we'll just have to see. You know what I mean? We're going to have to see. I don't know how it's going to turn out. But if I had to pick, I complain about the Chiefs a lot, but I think I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I think that this is finally when the Chiefs play well for once in the playoffs, and Andy Reid really gets that playoff W that's kind of eluded him a bit in a while. I would not feel good about, like, this isn't like a guarantee or anything like that. I don't feel great about it. To be fair, we are in the playoffs, and there is no type of guarantee. But I'm nervous about it. You know what I mean? I would be, if I'm the Chiefs, if I'm the Chiefs fan right now, I'd be nervous that Luck is just going to carve up the defense. You know what I mean? But we'll see what happens. You know, T.Y. Hilton, those guys. I'm going to pick the Chiefs, though, to win. I think this has kind of been the year of Mahomes. But I really won't be that surprised if the Colts win. I can see the Colts kind of being the sneaky team that just makes it really far because no one took them seriously, and they thought that they were just Andrew Luck. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people think that the Colts are only him, but in fact, it's a more complete team than it was a few years ago. But I'll still pick the Chiefs to win. And then for NFC, we got the first game that'll be happening is on Sunday. The Philadelphia Eagles taking on New Orleans Hornets. New Orleans Saints. Hey man, stuff happens. This is football, and I think this is an unfortunate matchup for Philly. I would have rather played the Rams again, maybe. Actually, no, because they did just play them, so maybe they'll have familiarity there. But, you know, they're heading into New Orleans now. That place is going to be rocking. They have a good home crowd. They're playing in a dome, which always works well for Drew Brees. That's just one of the things with him. Yeah, I think that the Foles thing ends here. It would be really, really fun, I think, if the Eagles won. I know a lot of people hate the Eagles, and because Philadelphia and, like, you know, the Philly teams have their detractors and whatnot. All of the teams in the NFC East do, whether it be Washington or the Giants or Cowboys. But I think that the Saints take this one. I just think that they're complete. I think that they just feel right. You know what I mean? It feels kind of like a Drew Brees. This is his moment where he wins another Super Bowl, and then we really start kind of rethinking all of the best quarterback of all time, at least to an extent, where maybe he moves up a level or whatever. But I'm not going to get into that now. I do worry about that lack of a second throwing option for the Saints. They have the two running backs with Ingram and Kamara, but I do think sometimes the Thomas thing, who's really, really good and is in a lot of areas like the best receiver in the game and in a bunch of different categories. But I do think that Dez Bryant thing hurt them. I think that Dez might have been a great number 2, and I think they need that. I think they need that more reliable second wide receiver. But then again, it is still the Saints with Drew Brees and all those guys that they have at skill positions. I think I think I got to take them here. I just think that Philly, it's been fun, but I don't think the Cinderella story is going to be back for them at this time. You know what I mean? But that's not like a knock against them. You know what I mean? Like, the Saints are just a great team, and I think that they are prepared. They've had the bye. They're playing at home. You know, home advantage means a lot in the playoffs, especially. And I think that they are just kind of ready. And I think that I just don't see the Eagles doing this again. I know that they kind of basically just played around and still made the playoffs, which is so they've got like a swagger to them. But still, I would still be worried about just everything that the Saints have. So I'm going to pick the Saints to win that one. And then the last game, of course, the Dallas Cowboys taking on the LA Rams. That'll be on Saturday. It's the 8:00 game. Yeah, I got the Rams here. And here's why. It's not just because I hate the Cowboys. I think that the Rams have been counted out. And I like teams that are good that people have kind of counted out. Because they finished the season sloppy. But I think you got Gurley all rested. McVay is probably going to come up with a game plan. I also just don't trust Jason Garrett as a head coach for the Cowboys. I think it could be a good game, but I really think that people are sleeping on the Rams to an extent. And that's kind of crazy to say for a team that won 13 games, but they finished the season slow. I just think that they're going to be prepared, and I think people have to remember that they're good. The recency bias seems to be taking over a bit here. But yeah, that's all I have to really say about that, honestly. Like, I don't have any other thoughts. I think that they're gonna beat Dallas. It's not gonna be a wipeout though. Dallas is a respectable team. You know what I mean? They've got a lot of there, but they do have a very respectable defense, and I think Dak is okay. And Ezekiel Elliott's great. So it's a respectable team. It's not like, I think people have been acting like this team is terrible and lucked into the playoffs because of their division. I don't think so. I think Dallas is actually pretty decent. So I give them credit. They've had like a pretty good season. But the Rams, man, I think that they got this. They were my Super Bowl pick before the year started. at least on the NFC side of things. So I'm going to stay with that and say that the Rams win this one. So yeah, guys, those are my thoughts on football. There's a lot of football talk, so sorry to people who aren't big fans of football. But now I'm going to take a bit of a break, and when we get back, just going to look back at 2018. Don't really know where I'm going to go with this exactly. I have some notes, but I don't know exactly where I'm going. So you guys will just have to stay tuned. Stay tuned to that to just talk about 2018 and everything that it meant to me and the rest of the world, perhaps. So yeah, guys, stay tuned. You're listening to 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair. And what's up, everybody? We're back here on 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair, the voice of Montclair State University. We're back. You're listening to Digital Dash, hosted by me, Javier Reyes. I just got done talking about football, extensive football talk, and wildcard weekend and all that. And now, just because, I wasn't here for New Year's Eve for my show, and it's the first show of mine in the new year of 2019. And to kind of celebrate that, I guess, I just wanted, oddly enough, I want to talk about 2018 and just that year for me. You know what I mean? And, there are a lot of end-of-year things that I still wanted to talk about. Did video games, obviously, with Jack earlier. And I plan on doing my favorite movies of the year, which I kind of slacked on, and I haven't finished it yet, my top 10. But I'm going to do that next week on the show for sure. But in terms of this year, I just want to talk about this year. And this was a pretty nutty year, as always. You know what I mean? And one of the things I like doing every year is just talking to friends and family about, like, what do we think this year is going to be remembered for? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of stuff that happens every year. And I mean this in every category. You know what I mean? Whether it be pop culture and video games, or whether it be politics or cultural events or celebrities or sports. Like, it could be anything. You know what I mean? And I just wonder all the time, like, what are some of the biggest things that you take away from the year? You know what I mean? And it took me a while. I have like a list of sorts where I'm just going to kind of like theorize about some of the things that I think. And, there's a lot that happened. I'm probably forgetting some things, but, since we just got off of sports, I really do think that we're going to remember 2018, the Philadelphia Super Bowl win. I think we are. I can't, because I don't think that, obviously, the Super Bowl being the biggest event of the year every year is always, it helps for why it's going to be remembered every year, as, just if we had, a list of things we remember, it'll be always up there. But I don't think every Super Bowl game is always on there. You know what I mean? I don't think we're still talking about Green Bay winning. I don't think we really talk about, to an extent, the Saints winning that one year, or, so on and so forth. I feel like the Falcon game is a great example of this. We're going to remember 2016 for that Falcons game. We will absolutely remember that. You know what I mean? We will. There's no doubt about it. And I think this year, the Super Bowl with the Eagles, their first ever Super Bowl win, and them coming out and beating the Patriots with their backup quarterback and this, huge shootout game, I really think we're going to remember that a lot. And I think that it was kind of cool. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of people hate Philly, but I know a lot of people hate the Patriots more. So I think that's one thing I'm going to remember when it comes to the sports world. But I think also another thing is this. I think we're going to remember LeBron. Maybe you guys have heard of him. And I think we're going to remember a bunch of things about LeBron James. I think we're going to remember this as kind of the year where he very officially became this socially conscious player, at least publicly. I'm not making any comments about maybe what his opinions or whatever, how active he was before this, but, this is the year where he called out the president a bunch of times, you know what I mean? And he built up a school, and I think that he really brought back the greatest of all time discussion, which I personally hate not because I have an opinion. I think mine is still Michael Jordan, but I do think we need to, let's just wait for his career to be over. You know what I mean? That's just been my thing. You know what I mean? It's so close that it's just, let's just wait. I don't know why you have to have this discussion now. It doesn't make any sense to me. But I also think that's what we're going to remember for this year. We're going to remember LeBron a lot, I think. And we're always going to remember LeBron, but I think that he made a lot of headlines this year. With his move to the Lakers, and who knows how that pans out. That'll dictate how we look back at it, depending on how it pans out for him. We're going to look at, some of his comments, and, the Laura Ingraham story, I believe, was this year, which is a big, big thing, which is when the whole shut up and dribble thing, that was a big, big story for a while. And I think we're going to remember that. I think we're going to remember LeBron officially becoming this very socially active, you know, opinionated type of person who really commentated on a bunch of things. And I love him. You know, I mean, I'm a big fan of LeBron, and I really respect everything that he does, and it's awesome. This one I kind of put as like a joke. Really think people really, really don't care about the Warriors. That's what I put down as something we'll remember. I think that last year, at least it was like, oh, Durant won his first championship. But then this year, I know that this is super biased, super subjective, but I promise you, people were talking about that championship for like 2 days. Nobody cares about the Warriors because they're cowards. You know what I mean? And I don't think that anybody cares that this team is winning. I don't want to hear anything about this beautiful basketball and wow, we've never seen anything before. It's like, I'm sorry, but just maybe I'm silly and maybe I'm missing something, but I don't think it's particularly interesting when a 73-win team feels compelled to add the second best player in the game. Why is that interesting to watch beyond 20 games to see how crazy it is? Like, why is that interesting? Is it really that interesting to see them win? Like, wow, who could have guessed it? It's like teams with with 4 superstar players would win a championship quite handedly, by the way. It's just like, really? Like, I can't believe that there are some people out there who really think that's interesting. Because it's not. And it's nothing against the players individually. I actually don't like Kevin Durant that much. I kind of gained my respect back for Draymond. So he's cool. And I love Steph. I love Steve Kerr. He's another guy, speaking about socially active people. Steve Kerr for sure leads the charge with that. But also, I also don't like Klay Thompson, though. Klay Thompson just comes off as being arrogant to me, and he comes off as being the type of personality that loves to talk trash, but then immediately pretend that he didn't say anything as soon as things go bad. And a lot of this stems from when they came back from the 3-1, the Cavs on the Warriors, famous, 3-1 lead, of course. And a lot of this stems back from him calling LeBron a baby in the press conference when they were up 3-1 or whatever, and then LeBron shrugging that off, and then they won the series, and then Klay Thompson, like the baby that he is, runs to the locker room afterwards and doesn't even stay afterward. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not blaming players for not being this super, like, humble and, like, not wanting to, you know what I mean? Like, I don't blame them all the time, because I'd be frustrated too. But it's just like, you're going to go out there and talk all this stuff and call the guy who is one of the best players ever just this baby because you and your superstar team are going to beat him possibly, and then you lose and then you hide. You know what I mean? That's why I don't like Klay Thompson. It's just he always seems to come out. And you know what I mean? He's always like, well, there is no rivalry or whatever. We've beat them 8 times. And it's like, cool, you added Durant. You're a scaredy cat. You got scared by LeBron James embarrassing you guys, and Kyrie Irving embarrassing you guys, that you felt you were just so scared that you needed to add another player. And then again, in the playoffs, you had to hurt Kawhi Leonard because you almost lost one game. So shout out Zaza Pachulia. Anyway, I don't want to make this an anti-Warriors thing entirely. So let's move on. There's just a lot of things. I think obviously the MCU, I think we're going to remember this year for Marvel movies a lot when it comes to that. But I don't necessarily think the defining one is Infinity War. I know that was the bigger one, and I know that one was the one that made more money. And I know that that's the one that featured all these characters. It's still going to be memorable. It'll be up there. But between this and Black Panther, I think we're going to remember this year a lot for being this year where this movie that just kind of touches every base and was this cultural phenomenon that featured a variety of black actors in roles that are leading roles, firstly, of course, but also as superheroes and also specifically as these royalty. They're the smartest, like they have their own nation type of thing that wasn't like stereotype. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like I don't want to get into this actually. I might say something that's a little offensive or something, but it's this technologically, like it's this world building that went on, and I thought it was brilliant. I really love Black Panther. I think we're going to remember the explosion of that and becoming this cultural thing, and Wakanda Forever and Killmonger and Is This Your King and all these things. You know what I mean? It's a really smart movie. It's great. I think we're going to remember that. And I think for me, Infinity War, I hope people remember it. I know the pretentious, snobby like type of film critics out there are going to pretend that it wasn't good. And I'm not saying that it wasn't, that you can't say that you didn't like the movie, but you cannot deny the unbelievable importance and just astounding achievement that Avengers Infinity War is. You know what I mean? A movie that's a sequel, kind of ostensibly to 18 other movies, and also features all these characters from comic books that aren't what were previously thought to be A-listers. You know what I mean? Like, we got Rocket Raccoon in a movie with Spider-Man. Like, that's just insane. You got, like, every A-lister in Hollywood. You got this purple CGI villain who somehow is made compelling. The movie is an amazing achievement, and I think we'll remember the year for that. There's just a bunch of things, you know what I mean? I think rom-coms coming back was another thing that happened this year, whether it be Set It Up, which is one of my favorites of the year, for sure. I loved it. Or Crazy Rich Asians, you know what I mean? Or To All the Boys I Loved Before. It felt like there was kind of a mini comeback for rom-coms this year. You know, Love, Simon being another one. That was a big thing that happened. I think we're going to remember it because rom-coms have kind of been dead because they're kind of this not middling, but a middle product, meaning like they're kind of in the middle of the budget where there's not a lot of money spent on them, but there's not little either when you have stars and stuff. And I feel like Netflix kind of brought it back a bit. You know what I mean? And Crazy Rich Asians was this big phenomenon that I personally did not like that movie. I didn't think it was very good, but I do not deny that it was cool to see. You know what I mean? It was cool to see. But I didn't like the movie. So I don't think we're going to necessarily remember Crazy Rich Asians. I think we're going to lump it into either this kind of resurgence of rom-coms or just in general the year of like leading people, like historically disenfranchised groups, minority groups being given this grand stage to shine. You know what I mean? And I think that's one thing that I'll remember the year for, which is really cool and something to commemorate for sure. I think another thing, I was talking with my friend Mike Cavalier about this, about are we going to remember these midterms? And what I mean by that is, like, are we specifically going to be like, wow, that was a year where the midterm elections were huge? And he thinks yes. And he thinks that it was a year of the woman, and to the degree of which I think was more last year, especially with the whole Me Too thing. But I think that this year he was talking about just, you see all the people that got elected. Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, I'm going to say her name wrong, I'm sorry. Just her becoming a big thing. Just all these, minority kind of groups and, whether it be LGBT community, just seeing more representation in our government, I think, we kind of agreed on as something that we'll probably remember this year for, which I think is really cool. And speaking of not maybe representation, I don't know how to describe this one, but Kanye West, I'm wondering if we'll remember him. I'm going to vote no, and I've been voting no because I don't think that anything Kanye West any year is particularly memorable because it's just all lumped together as being Kanye West. He's not crazy, I'm sorry. He is crazy to an extent where he's just saying these things all the time, and this year being his big fervent support of Donald Trump, which is controversial for a variety of reasons, and him going out and doing all these things. It's amazing how far the dissonance between him and his music has become. You know what I mean? It's almost, when you talk about Kanye West, it's almost never about music. You know what I mean? It's about what he said. What did he say on Twitter? What did he say about the Kardashians? You know what I mean? Like, it's always these weird, crazy things. And I just think that we won't remember 2018 as a specific year for him. Maybe we'll remember a year if he decides to run for president or whatever, which is, he keeps saying like 2024, as far as I understand. So that'll be interesting, I guess, for people. But yeah, I think that this year in general, it was a big year for me too. You know what I mean? And there's a variety of reasons for that. You know what I mean? Like, I had a lot of personal things that happened, a lot good actually. And it was a year where I started to feel again. It was a year where I started to be happy and to care again about things. And I don't want to get too like sappy. I hate getting all cheesy with this stuff, but I don't know. It was a year where I was happy again, like consistently. And it'd been a while since I was always like that. I grew cynical, especially in the latter days of my high school career, I guess. And then that kind of transferred over to the beginning days of college. And this year I was just consistently felt animated. I felt like I cared for once. I used to be very kind of dismissive of everything, I think. And I just didn't care. I cared about things, but I just felt kind of numb to a lot of things. And this year, I felt like that came back, you know what I mean? And not to toot my own horn or anything like that. Oh, that's the phrase I was looking for. Toot my own horn. There we go. But, it was a year where I got an internship offer, which is really cool, and I'm doing that now. It was a year where I got my radio show, which is really cool. And I started that over this summer, and I got more involved with WMSC, and I, of course, encourage people from the school to try and do that too. And where I became the assistant entertainment editor at Montclarian, and I tried to write as best as I could. I'm trying. I'm not saying that I'm the best or anything like that. I'm not doing this thing where it's like, oh, look at all the awards I won, because one, I think that comes off as being a little bit too braggadocious, and also I didn't win any awards. You know what I mean? And I think things like that don't matter to me, but it was just cool, and I haven't really thought about it. Not that I'm like this super humble person. I don't know if anyone would say that. I don't think I could talk about myself like that objectively and say whether or not I'm humble. I think you'd have to ask other people. But I think that I had a year where I didn't realize until I thought about it, where I was like, I think I did all right. You know what I mean? I think I did some cool stuff. And I'm really happy about that. You know what I mean? And I could go into that forever. And, it was also tough. You know what I mean? I had some family, kind of issues, some people who passed away. R.I.P. Mr. Alfred Slocum, my guy, who was kind of like a second father to me in a lot of ways. That happened. I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad. Trust me, I'm fine, everybody. Don't worry, we're good. And just some personal celebrities when it comes to Mac Miller, who passed away, and I admitted this on air. Like, I cried after that happened. And I didn't have a celebrity death that really impacted me because, like, that was my guy. You know what I mean? And you ask anybody who's friends with me, especially from some of my best friends, they would say, like, yeah, like, I was always a big Mac Miller guy, and it really made me sad. And it's no joke. Like, that's something that I'll always remember, for sure. I'll always remember the memories he gave me, from his music to his personality and the message he conveyed. It meant a lot to me. And Stan Lee, another personal one for me. You know what I mean? Stan Lee passing away, which was, I don't want to say expected, but, he was old. He was getting up there, and his wife recently passed away too. So they say that that's usually when it's kind of expected, but that was still sad. And obviously, for a lot of reasons, everybody can get it. You know what I mean? This is the guy who was a big part of what made my life so great with Spider-Man. And growing up, that he was like the only friend I had. You know what I mean? I was a big Spider-Man kid, and that was like, I'd be engrossed in these stories and playing the games or watching the movies, Sam Raimi movies. Like, as a kid, I was, I wasn't like all alone, but there were a lot of weekends and a lot of days where I was just this shy kid, or I was the weird kid. And what's hilarious is looking back is I really wasn't a weird kid. I didn't like things that were super weird. It's just I was with a bunch of kids in my middle school who were kind of jerks, and they only liked you if you could run fast or shoot in basketball. You know what I mean? Like, that was it. It wasn't a variety of kids. And I think that's what happened. I saw that when I went to high school. But, Stan Lee with Spider-Man, and that's another thing. It's just the year of Spider-Man in general. You know what I mean? His moment in Infinity War, and, the game, of course, coming out, which I loved, and is my favorite game I played this year, which, of course, I talked about earlier. I didn't get to play too much, so take that with a grain of salt, but I played that and loved it, and I got choked up at the end of that game, too, based on what happens in the story, which I won't spoil right now. Even though it's been out for a while, but still. And then the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which was one of the biggest surprises I've had watching movies in a long time, in terms of just how good it was. And there were so many memorable moments in it that I'll cherish for a while. It's definitely one of my favorites this year, and you guys will have to stay tuned to see what exactly was my favorite of the year. Maybe it was Spider-Verse, who knows? You'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's a year where I think I'm being selfish in saying this, I think, but it was a big year for me. You know what I mean? In a lot of ways. And it's a year that I just started to care again, and that sounds really trite and silly, and it sounds really melodramatic in a lot of ways, but it was cool. You know what I mean? Sometimes life can be pretty cool, and I think everybody, I know everyone always says this, you know what I mean? Everyone always says, like, get through it and you can do it, and whatever you be talking about, it's, oh, I'm getting bad grades or trouble in the family, or, oh, I can't talk to girls, and, oh, don't worry, there's plenty of fish in the sea. But it's like, with all these things, man, like, I don't know. I don't have any idea of how you get better at them. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. But it's just, I think you just keep going. That's one of the things I got from this year. And I know that the world around us, like I said, it's a bit selfish to talk about myself when talking about the year. And I know the world is, not in the best of places when it comes to this country. And there's a lot of unrest when it comes to social issues and politics and all that stuff. And the rest of the world certainly has its fair share of problems. But I think I believe a lot more again. And I think I believe a lot more in people, And I think I believe in myself to an extent. You know what I mean? And I think everyone's got their struggles. And I feel like this year, I didn't beat the struggle that I have within myself, whatever it is, and every single one of you out there has your own separate struggle too. But it was definitely a year where I thought I could beat it. you know, and I think that means a lot. I think that it was a year where it was a good year. You know what I mean? Selfishly, it was a great year. That's really all I have to say about it. And I thought we had a lot of great movies, great games, great TV shows. I started watching TV again. I just started watching The West Wing, which I'm going to watch with my mom when I get home because it's awesome, and I know I'm super late on it, but it's my mom's favorite show ever, and we basically just started watching it recently, and I've been just super in. And I know everyone who's been paying attention to the show is like, hey, what the heck, man? You said you were going to watch Game of Thrones. I'll get to it, but that one's like super long, and I'm sorry, but I'm happy right now watching The West Wing. I think that's just the way I'd say it. I'm happy. I feel good, you know? And I didn't always used to be able to say that as confidently as I can say it now, you know? So yeah, that's it, guys. That does it for today's edition of the Digital Dash. Remember that you can always tune into the show every Monday from 4 to 7 p.m. here on 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair, or the iHeartRadio app. And as always, you know, to close things out, it's Journey with Separate Ways, Worlds Apart. Remember, everyone, never accept the world for what it appears to be. Dare to see it for what it could be. I'm Javier Reyes, and I hope you all have a terrific night. See you next time.